Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
Yeah.
97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
A happy hour Friday starts now on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, streaming live video on the X platform at 973 ESPN. Use the hashtag SB Live. What's up, everybody? Phils and Diamondbacks highlight a weekend at Citizens Bank Park, the rematch of the National League Championship Series. We're going to dive into that. Cole Hamels will be honored tonight at the ballpark. For all the fans of the 08 Phillies, there'll be a lot of alumni hanging around the ballpark. I'm sure a lot of people will be excited to see the old 2008, 2009, 10, 11 crew. If you want to see the game, you might have to go to the ballpark. Game's on Apple TV Plus tonight. Now, it's on Roku Sunday. I'm hearing that the Roku is easier to get than the Apple TV. Like, you have to pay and have Apple TV Plus. If you don't, you can get a 7-day trial, which, by the way, I have tried to get the 7-day trial. Even that is not the easiest thing to do. They don't make getting the 7-day free trial the easiest thing to do. But I'm going to try to figure it out tonight. I will try to figure the Roku thing out. So I can watch both those games. Because if you don't have Roku and you don't have Apple TV Plus, you can't watch the Phillies, but you can go up to Citizens Bank Park. They got a whole weekend of stuff planned. A lot of Sixers news coming out today with, we are about a week away from the start of NBA free agency. It starts next Sunday night, and Wednesday is the draft. So the NBA offseason gets here quick. I mean, they finished the finals, and they don't waste time getting into their offseason because you go from the finals ending. Like, if it would have gone 7 games, that would have been, I guess, this Sunday night. Yeah, Game 7 would have been this Sunday night. So had that series gone 7 games, they'd be playing Sunday night for the winner of the NBA Finals, and then the draft is Wednesday. Like, you don't have a whole heck of a lot of time if you're one of the teams that are in the finals and go 7 games to get your draft preparation going. But the draft is Wednesday. Free agency starts Sunday. And then soon after they finish the draft, I mean, the summer league starts like right after that. So the NBA offseason is here, and there's a lot going on with the Sixers. If you go over to our website, 973ESPN.com, or if you have the free mobile app, you got an alert sent to your phone with all the news and the latest on the Sixers, and we'll touch on that throughout the day as well, because there's like new Paul George stuff kind of coming out yesterday, and you know, it's kind of now all formulating. There's new names kind of. There was a trade yesterday. J.J. Redick got hired. We mentioned that yesterday. And, you know, Redick is the new Lakers coach. That was kind of a poorly kept secret. Although it's really sparked a nice battle between Shams and Woj. And the Pat McAfee show has kind of like gotten in the middle of this. It's an interesting dynamic with that whole thing, if that's a world that you like to live in. The insiders breaking news and who's on top of that. But Shams gets 2 points. He had the J.J. Redick stuff. Woj got beat on that one, it looks like. I know, who cares? What, right? But we'll talk about the Sixers news as we kind of encapsulate, because their $60 million in cap space kind of leads the way this offseason. So everybody's waiting to see what Daryl Morey's going to do. This is his first offseason in Philadelphia, where he actually has cap space. He actually has assets. So right now, as we talked about the other day, his feet are to the fire, right? This is his time now. He has untangled some messy contracts, and now they got to make this work. So we'll get into that later. But I do want to start with the Phillies, and something that we've kind of talked a little bit about through the offseason, or not the offseason, through this season with the team being, you know, so far out. We talked yesterday about is this season, are the Phillies so good that they're actually boring, which is, our buddy Mike Missinelli's podcast. He talked about that last week on the podcast, that the Phillies are so good they're boring. And I don't quite agree that they're boring. I think the Phillies are fun. I think that people love this Phillies team. I think the Phillies are a very popular team, and I don't think that they're boring yet. And the reason why is it feels like the Phillies fans are allowing themselves to, we talk about like a wrestling fan. A wrestling fan enjoys wrestling because they understand the outcome is scripted and they can suspend disbelief to be entertained. I know the outcome is scripted, but I'm going to overlook that because I'm entertained by the story that the writer came up with to get me here. That is where the Phillies are right now. I think the Phillies fan is suspending disbelief. Any disbelief you might have about this Phillies team, you are kind of suspending disbelief here so that you can be entertained and have fun with this season. And I don't have any problem with that. That's what sports are meant to be. A release, a suspension of disbelief from the world that we live in. We all have jobs. We all have to be at places at certain times. But at night, when we get home, hopefully the sports kind of, I could sit down and get into a game and enjoy it. The problem in the sports world has become, if you don't win the championship, everything else is meaningless. But this Phillies team, I feel that, and I give credit to the Phillies fans for this, I feel that the Phillies fans have been able to suspend disbelief for this season. They have been able to say, you know what? I don't care about X, Y, Z. And it made me think about this yesterday. We talked about it in the 5 o'clock hour last night with Arizona coming to town. With Arizona coming to town, it makes you think back to you could not beat them in Game 6 and you could not beat them in Game 7. But you've won 25 out of your last 28 games. You are, as a Phillies fan, you should be enjoying that, right? I've gone to the ballpark 28 times. 25 of them I've seen them win. That's a positive. The other side of it would be, well, it doesn't matter unless they win those games in October, which, yeah, is accurate. But let's not let that cloud what has been such an entertaining season so far, right? 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Text message is open. As always, you can chime in there. You can get us on the free mobile app. You can message us through the app on your phone. You can obviously hit us up on X at 973ESPN, at Mike Gill Show, and watch the show live there. But, like, the Phillies, there are questions. And I think the timing of this game, which, by the way, yesterday was the first day of summer, so we are officially in the summer season. Timing is everything. And the start of the summer, the dog days are here, coupled with the fact that you're playing Arizona. I think that all kind of puts stuff in perspective. That the Diamondbacks beat you, an 84-win team, and you were the 90-win team. Now, this year, you're probably going to be the 100-win team. Is the 85-win team going to get you again? The 85-win Cardinals got you in 2011. The 84-win team got you last year. And it's one of those things where if you let yourself get taken into the negative, it will happen. All right, 609-403-0973 if you want to jump on board there. We can certainly dive into that conversation. If you want to get into that conversation about the Phillies, let's do it. You know, one of the things we ask about the Phillies is this. If you try to get into the season and they disappoint you, what is next season going to look like? Right? What is next season going to look like? We asked that question at 973-ESPN on Twitter, at Mike Gill Show. My question yesterday was, if the Phillies win like 100 games and don't win the World Series, will the Phillies fans be there? Will the Phillies fans show back up? Or are they going to turn into the Sixers? Our old co-host on this show, Hunter Brody, tweeted out yesterday, the Sixers broke me. I'm in whatever mode. I hate that I'm here, but I'm here. That was his tweet, to which I subtweeted and said, if the Phillies win 100 games and win no World Series, will the fans be there with the Phillies too? And got a lot of reaction to that at Mike Gill Show on Twitter. Nick chimes in. He says, shouldn't be. The Sixers are a very different story because everything has just been so bizarre that it's hard not to believe the franchise is literally cursed. But in general, it's damn hard to win the whole thing. Being the best team isn't enough. You need some luck. There's a lot there, and I've talked about that. I think the one problem that the Sixers have had that the Phillies are kind of different is there was a divide from the Sixers fans. You have this group of people who just hate the Sixers because of what they did, and they'll never get over that. And then you have this other side of the Sixers fans who embrace what they did because they were tired of them being a nothing. So and then the problem has become the Sixers never capitalized on the excitement and all of the energy the fan base have. Can the Phillies be that? Can the Phillies capitalize? Can the Phillies get back their excitement if they don't get the job done? And that's what we're taking a look at. The other thing is, and I see a lot of people texting in at 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Couple of different things. And we'll hit up on the text board if you want to hit us up on, of course, on the Twitter feed if you're watching the show over there. So people have asked me, you're watching the show, how can I contribute? You just click the video so that the video opens up, and then it'll say something towards the bottom. You can type in there, and you can get involved in there as well. 609-403-0973. I also say, so people always say that I don't take phone callers, okay? It's not that I don't take phone callers. People in 2024 choose generally not to call. I have said many times, if you want to call in, you are more than welcome to call in. I actually enjoy talking to people. Many, many people tell me that they like my show better without the calls. So we just kind of gotten away from that. There are many options out there, but I've told people, if you want to call in, you are more than welcome to call in. And Sean in Philly has said that I don't take calls and that I wouldn't put him through. And I disagree with Sean, and Sean is able to come on. Sean, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, Mike? How you been, dude?
I'm always good. I'm always good, brother. How are you?
Good. I enjoy our conversations. I just disagree with your love affair that you have with a team that can never get it done. So that's just my opinion. You disagree, so there's no problem with it. But I figured I'd call and clear the air on that.
That's fine. I don't have a love affair. I think the team has made a ton of mistakes. I think they have been terribly run. They've made a horrible decision after decision. What I will say, and what I always say is, I'm an NBA fan. I like basketball, so therefore, I'm also one of those guys who, when I was younger, Sean, the intricacies of building a team was always more interesting. So the off seasons of putting together the pieces and trying to fix things has always been more interesting to me than sometimes the games themselves. So yes, I have been completely disappointed by the Sixers. They have made a ton of terrible decisions, but that doesn't mean I'm going to wane. That's not what a fan is. I am a basketball fan. I've been a Sixers fan. I've been disappointed, but I also don't turn my back.
Yeah, I got you, but you know the end result and what's going to happen. So that's all my point. Whatever they do, it's not going to matter. Yeah.
I've been told that a ton. I've been told that about the Phillies, and then finally in 2008, I was surprised, and I've been told that about the Eagles. That's the team that never wins the Super Bowl. Well, they finally won one, and guess what? It felt a lot better being the team that got kicked in the groin many times and then finally winning one. Maybe the Sixers will do it for me, and guess what? Maybe they won't, Sean, but if they do, I'll be there, and so a guy like you won't be, and I'll feel better for it.
Nah, I'll be there. I just know.
I know you'll be there. You'll just say, "Hey, I'll jump on the bandwagon." I'm cool with that.
No, I'm a fan, but I'm resigned to the result of what's going to happen. And I'm not saying that
I don't understand how people could be a fan like that. That's you, and that's cool. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying, like, every season to me is a new chapter. If you're telling me it's the same players every single time and the same exact, everybody has the same team, then yeah, I could see, hey, I saw this, but I get new players, I got new teams. I thought this year was very disappointing because I thought the team, now Embiid, the problem with Embiid is perpetual, and that's part of the problem, is that they can't get a healthy Embiid, and that's been a huge issue. And I understand the fans who say, listen, I'm not buying in until that guy's healthy. I have no problem with people who have that mindset.
I know people who have their mindset either. I'm just saying a Paul George or a Jimmy Butler or anything like that, that just, to me, it's not going to make the move the needle in essence. Because, I mean, would you say that they're the second best team in the East with a move like that?
Let me ask you this. If they had Paul George this year instead of Tobias Harris, would they have beat the Knicks?
Probably, but that doesn't mean they would have beat Boston.
No, but you asked if they were the second best team. You didn't say, are they the best team? You said the second best team, right?
Yeah.
So if they would have beat the Knicks, I think they would have won and played Boston and probably not beat the Celtics. Now, if they get Paul George, are they that much closer to the Celtics? You know, the Celtics, somebody brought this up, the fact that the Celtics have played all these games and they keep going deep. At some point, teams are not winning back-to-back titles. It's very hard to do. I think the Celtics are better than the Sixers currently. The Sixers have two players on the roster. But if they get Paul George, does that close the gap? Sure it does. And then you never know what happens. Injuries occur. Things happen. 7-game series, draw things out, make it tougher. But, hey, listen, being a sports fan isn't just saying I know the result. Part of it is, if you were a Cubs fan in 2016 and said, I already know the result of this season, that would suck.
Yeah, it would, but part of it's being a fan, part of it's just knowing the end result with a team that you've seen the end result of the movie 10 million times.
Hey, Sean, I have no problem with Sixer fans saying, I have been scarred by this team and I'm done. I totally understand it and I totally get that. But I will say, for the people out there, there are a ton of people who want to see that team win and care so much and want to know how they're going to do it to get there. So turning your back to those people is not very smart, if you're me anyway. Now, if you're you're saying, who cares about this team? We know the result. I can't just say, hey, Sean from Philly doesn't like the Sixers, therefore I'm out on talking about them.
Yeah, I got you. It's kind of me just messing with you at the same time.
Believe me, I'm well aware, dude. I'm well aware. Hey, listen, yeah. I appreciate people, and I actually like when you can have good conversation and back and forth. I get into this job knowing half the people agree with me, the other half don't, and whether you're on either side, it's all good with me, brother.
Yeah, it's all good with me too, dude.
Well, listen, you told me that you found a number, and I corrected you. I said, no, man, this is the number. I guarantee you're in. I would not turn my back on people.
All right, man. Glad to hear from you, Mike.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right.
All right, 609-573-3776 if you do want to call in. Hey, listen. People ask me all the time, you don't take a lot of callers. There's a lot of reasons why. It has nothing to do with not wanting to hear other people's opinions. I have no problem with people's opinions. I just got a text message that says, Mike, I'd rather you read the text message than hear callers. Hey, listen, some people like hearing callers. Some people like hearing the text messages. Some people say you don't take callers because you don't want to hear their opinions. That's not it at all. Those who know me know I love debating back and forth. There's not a general reason why I will say that a lot of people gave me feedback that they just like me reading the text messages more. More people tell me that than said, hey, I miss hearing the callers. I don't mind taking callers. I will say it's 2024. Most people it's easier for them to text and they're used to it. But if you ever want to call, it's easy to find the number. I have no problem listening to your opinions and taking the calls. And yeah, sure. I mean, there you go. That dude right there had been tweeting at me saying, I don't want to hear other people's opinions, and that's why I don't take calls. Couldn't be further from the truth. I gave him the number, said, hey, you call in. I guarantee you'll get on. As long as I don't have a guest on, as long as there's not somebody that's on the air with me as a guest, and if there's an open segment, chime on in, brother. I have no problem. He doesn't like the Sixers. I'm a basketball guy. And listen, I said at the top of the call that he gave me, you know, a buddy of mine, one of my best buddies growing up, we used to sit, I'm sure many of you did this. We would play like baseball stars and put our teams together, and the roster building was always more intriguing. We would do a Madden, you know, franchise mode. And that was always, we would sit in his room. And if he's listening right now, he's probably cracking up. We'd sit in his room all summer, morning, noon, through the night, 2 o'clock in the morning. We would draft all day long. And then we'd do the franchise mode. For like Madden football, we do it for MLB, baseball, the show, NBA. We would draft our teams and then just simulate through the seasons. We wouldn't even play the games. We would just simulate the games. All so that we could just draft teams and then make trades and sign free agents. It was always something that was always fascinating. And that's why when NBA free agency, and I think of all the free agency, the NBA one has the most like drama. Is this guy going here? Now, the NFL's getting there where the guy stops following the team on Twitter, all that kind of stuff. But the NFL stuff seems to happen fast and furious. If you're like the best player in the NFL, you're getting signed. They don't wait. The NBA stuff's a little wonky sometimes where you might not get signed until this guy go. Baseball's terrible. Baseball hot stove league is awful. 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. I think the other thing with the Sixers and the Phillies, the discourse there, going back to the tweet from my buddy Hunter, who he said, you know, the Sixers have put him in position that he just doesn't care anymore. He's at whatever. My question was, will the Phillies get you there? Will the Phillies, if they don't win the World Series but win like 110 games, this will be the third straight season that they take you along for the ride and they don't get the ultimate job done. Interesting to see. 609-403-0973. I did tweet this out. Somebody got on board. The J.J. Redick stuff and then the Bronny James stuff, that's a whole nother show and topic on itself. But I said, what if Bronny James has been playing possum his whole career? That he's just been like mediocre just so that he can get drafted and then he turns into like better than his father. Is that just a conspiracy tinfoil cap on that one? You don't like that one? Like his dad say, Bronny, don't be as best as you can. You're still going to be good enough and then this way we can play together.
I don't think it's that. I wouldn't go that far, only because of the fact that the main reason why we are in this situation, because he had a legitimate health problem. You know, he had that heart problem that basically eliminated all of his ramp up to playing college basketball and pretty much destroyed his playing ability in college to really get playing time. And I think that you don't, if in order for what you said to be real, Mike, what you're saying is they faked the heart problem and that he went to the hospital. That was all fake.
No, I'm not saying that, but most people don't view him as a first-round talent.
Because he didn't play really much in college.
Well, when he did play, he wasn't considered a first-round talent. Now, you're saying if he would have played 30 games in his freshman year that people would have evaluated him differently? I think people saw a guy that just wasn't all that good.
But yet now we're evaluating him differently because he goes to the combine and has this monster performance.
That's my point. Was he playing possum his college career?
That's my point. Because I'm saying that if he would have actually been healthy and had a full ramp up for a college basketball season, he would have gotten legitimate playing time and he could have showed that.
Boy, my text board is blowing up. They don't want to hear me take calls. Okay.
Wow.
Hey, listen, I choose the way I do the show for a reason.
The people have spoken. Wow.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. He joins me next on the Sports Bash.
You're listening with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
2:31 Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Mike McGarry is heading to Philly tonight for the Phillies and Diamondbacks. It's the rematch of the NLCS, so it puts some reflection on a lot of things. The Diamondbacks, by the way, have not gotten off to a great start this season, but they are in the wild card mix, just like everybody else in the National League. They are currently 37-38. They've won 7 out of 10, so they are coming hard. But I guess with Arizona in town, Mike, it does put some reflection on that the Phillies lost Game 6 and Game 7 at home against a team that won 84 games last year. So whether the Phillies win 90, 100, 110, they've won 25 out of the last 28. Does this Arizona team coming in this weekend make you think back to, hey, no matter how good the Phillies are this season, it might not be good enough?
Yeah, it does reflect on the sort of randomness of the postseason. And in 2022, the Phillies were the benefit of that because they were kind of the Arizona Diamondbacks, knocking off the Braves and the Padres and getting to the World Series, while last year it was done to them. So it sort of highlights, yeah, the regular season is successful, and regular season is to be enjoyed and celebrated, but there is a randomness to the baseball postseason, and nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking a little bit about yesterday and today, Mike, when you take a look at the fact of the matter is, you know, I think a lot of Sixer fans have kind of just given up on them, right? No matter what happens, they can win 75 games, be the number 1 seed, and people won't believe in them. But are the Phillies in danger of that happening to them if they don't get the job done this year?
I don't think this year. I think the Phillies are kind of in a spot, we called it the innocent climb the other day. I think they're still kind of headed up the mountain. Now, if they fall through in the playoffs this year, I think there'll be some more scrutiny going into next season. And then if next season they were to bottom out too in the postseason or not make the postseason, then I think you see the turn. You look back at the Sixers, right? They really went from 2017, 18, 19. It wasn't until the series against the Atlanta Hawks, I think, in 2020, where people first started to roll their eyes and wonder what was going on here. So, they had 3 or 4 years before that run to kind of, get the benefit of the doubt. And I think the Phillies are in the midst of that period right now.
Yeah, I know, I kind of likened it to like a wrestling fan who can suspend disbelief. It seems that the fans are just having a lot of fun with this team, and they're not thinking about all of the things that could go wrong. It just seems like this team is just fun and entertaining, and people seemingly are along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's face it, I was here from 2007 to 11 during the big sellout streak down here. This ballpark, like tonight on a Friday night in Philadelphia, Arizona in town, Cole Hamels' retirement, there's going to be 45,000 people. This is the place to be. You see people out in Ashburn Alley. It's the place to be on a Friday night in Philadelphia. It was that way from 2007 to 11, and it's that way now. This is sort of the hot ticket in town, and, this team is entertaining. And again, the Diamondbacks, the postseason is random. Things can go wrong in the postseason. The best team during the regular season doesn't always win, but the regular season, to me, has still got to be enjoyed and savored, all throughout the summer. And I think that's the period we're in right now.
Yeah, with Arizona coming into town, it does bring you back to that series and then winning Game 6 and Game 7 and just kind of, heightening the fact that, hey, this Diamondback team right now, you look at them, mediocre, average, under 500, but any one of these average teams, because, Mike, there's 10 teams in the National League that are all average right now, and you're thinking, man, this thing is so, Philly's running away, but any one of these average or mediocre teams could bite you like Arizona did last year.
Yeah, and I think it's how you're playing in October and September that counts, right? I mean, we go back to the St. Louis Cardinals of 2011 and how they beat the 102-win Phillies and how they won 80-something games, but they were really playing well in August and September. This Diamondback team, I think it's going to be an interesting test, Mike. They're playing better. You mentioned their better record. They're 12-6 in June. Corbin Carroll got off to a slow start. He's kind of turned things around. I think this will be an interesting 3-game kind of a measuring stick again for the Phillies, similar to the way the series was in Baltimore last weekend.
Yeah, I know Phillies fans excited for tonight. Anytime that 08 team gets recognized, Cole Hamels will be there as well. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, he'll be there as well. Mike, it is Happy Hour Friday. We're getting ready for the weekend, but the NBA offseason is here, and a lot of rumors already taken off. We saw a trade yesterday. But, hey, it sounded like the summer of Paul George to the Sixers, and now it seems that the Sixers not as hot on Paul George. I want to get from you, though, do you think that the Sixers will end up having a disappointing offseason with all the cap space and all the assets? Everybody says, hey, they have the ability to do X, Y, and Z. But when it's all said and done, will the fans be disappointed with what they are able to get done?
Yeah, it's kind of what do the fans expect? And I was thinking about this myself earlier today. Okay, you know, there's talk that their interest in Paul George is waning, or Paul George doesn't want to come to Philadelphia. How much is that just a smokescreen by agents and teams trying to negotiate price or trades? Same thing with OG.
Just lost Mike there. He was talking to us about some of the smoke screens that happen in the NBA, and he's right about that. You get the smoke screens, the agents do this. But one of the things with Paul George that we've been kind of touching on is the Sixers have the most money. There's been some talks about Paul George essentially opting into the contract similar to what James Harden did last year so that he can get the $48 million and then asking for a trade. Similar to the playbook that James Harden did last year. Hey, I'm going to opt into my deal because we talked about this during the Harden thing. Why do you opt into the deal? Because you don't think you can get the money that you're making on the open market. So instead, I'll just take the $48 million and opt in, and then I'll ask to be traded. Let's bring Mike back into the conversation, and we're talking about whether or not we think the Sixer fans, when it's all said and done in this offseason, are they going to be happy with the results?
Yeah, I think it's going to be expectations. If your expectations are to get a superstar like Paul George or Jimmy Butler, and frankly, getting an aging superstar in his mid.
Well, we lost Mike again. He must be is he in a bad spot or something? What's I never had that happen to him before with the stuff, but he's talking about an aging superstar in Paul George. That's another, he brings up another interesting problem for the 76ers, which is Paul George aging, and there is a lot of names that have been surrounding the Sixers. One is Paul George. If you go to my article at 973ESPN.com, the other one's Zach LaVine. The other one is Brandon Ingram. LaVine and Ingram are younger guys. Butler, the other name is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who has been kind of thrown into the mix here as well. So we'll see if the third time's a charm for Mike to kind of get his expository. It sounds like you think the Sixers fans are going to be disappointed.
Well, if they want an aging star and Paul George and Jimmy Butler, yes. And frankly, I'd be a little nervous about giving a max contract to one of those guys. I think an interesting route would be to bring in maybe 2 to 3. I'm not talking role players, but better than average role players, guys that contribute, guys that are younger, and add that to the Embiid Maxey mix. I'd be interested to see, if that it could happen right there. I know there's an emphasis in the NBA on stars, but you have 2 stars. Maybe you brighten up the supporting cast or strengthen the supporting cast around them, and you have a better team. I do think that's a viable way to go.
Yeah, I know the Paul George stuff, as you said, is that agent talk. I mean, last year I was talking while we lost you there for a second, that he could follow the James Harden blueprint, opt into his deal so he gets the $48 million. If he does, you would only do that though if you don't think you're going to get that kind of deal on the open market, and then say, hey, I want to be traded, and then go to the team, because he might, that messaging would be, I don't like the teams that have cap space. I don't want to go to one of those teams, but I'll opt in and then ask to be traded so that I can essentially force my way to the team I actually want to go to.
Yeah, and if you look at that, if he does do that, to me that makes Paul George less attractive, because now you have to give up assets to get him. where if he opts out and you can sign him as a free agent using your cap space, I'd rather do that than give up assets, draft picks in the future. So to me, the very fact that Paul George opts in, pulls a James Harden, opts in, and then demands a trade, to me, that makes him a less attractive option than he is right now.
Yeah, and then, there's the Jimmy Butler stuff. I know over at The Ringer, Howard Beck reported that Butler will be traded, that all signs are pointing to that. We've heard his name a lot, the Brandon Ingram stuff. Zach LaVine is a guy that it says, hey, the Sixers are not as interested in him. He would be a backup plan. But I would say this, Mike. I think it's fair to say that Daryl Morey's feet are to the fire this offseason. Finally, for a lot of people out there, hey, look, Morey got hired. He had a very good track record in Houston. He has done a lot of untangling the messes that the previous regimes have put in front of him. But now that he's untangled them, he got himself cap space. He got himself draft picks. I think you can start judging him a little differently now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's kind of on the clock, although I think he's built two teams that could have gone to an Eastern Conference final. The first one was obviously the loss to Atlanta, which when you look back on it now, that really kind of makes you, if you're a Sixers fan, that's got to make you sick to your stomach. That was the year that the Sixers should have gone to the final. That loss to Atlanta was inexcusable. And then, the loss to the Celtics 2 years ago, up 3-2, coming back to Philadelphia. Boy, that leaves you shaking your head. So those are two teams that could have gone to an Eastern Conference final and maybe beyond and didn't get there. So you're right. That's two strikes. This is Daryl Morey's, if he misses here, this might be strike three.
Well, that's interesting you say that because there's a lot of people who don't look at it the same way you just mapped out, is that he built two teams kind of like not as intentioned to be a contending team, but yet still put a competitive enough team out on the court when expectations were, hey, the Sixers are taking a little step back.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like this. I mean, I know you can say in Atlanta it's not Daryl Morey's fault that Ben Simmons couldn't shoot foul shots and passed up on a dunk. But in the next year, you could say, well, was it Daryl Morey's fault that James Harden kind of disappeared in Games 6 and 7 and Embiid wasn't great in Games 6 or 7? Maybe you got to factor that in. So somebody's got to take the fall here. You can't be GM for life unless you're Brian Cashman of the New York Yankees. Like you said, you've had two opportunities here to sort of get to the Eastern Conference final. You were good enough to do it. You were in position to do it twice, and you failed. So how many chances do you get? Look, I like what Morey's done. I like how he's untangled the roster. I like what he's been able to do here in Philadelphia. But, hey, the clock is ticking on us all, Michael.
No doubt.
On a happy hour Friday.
No doubt about that. You're right about that. I will say the Sixers did give him an extension because I think they were happy with the job that he did to get him to this point, saying, hey, you got us out of the Al Horford. You got us out of the Josh Richardson. You got us more draft picks. Yes, you got Harden here and he wanted to leave, but I think they won that deal with cap space and draft picks. And I think the Sixers said, we didn't give you a great, base here and you got us to this point, but you're right. I think his feet are to the fire, starting this offseason. Who can they get? It all starts next Sunday night, the NBA free agent period. We'll be talking about it right here on the Sports Bash. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. The high school season all done. The graduations are all in the books. And, I guess you have a little time from covering the day-to-day off, but you're going to Philly tonight.
Yeah, up at Philly tonight for the Phillies, so we'll have the Cole Hamels retirement ceremony story up and the story on tonight's game. And check out pressofac.com for all our all-star stuff, baseball, softball, track, all that will be rolling out, lacrosse, all that good stuff will be rolling out over the next couple of weeks. So you're right, the games are done, but the postseason honors are just beginning, and you can get all of that at pressofac.com.
All right, Mike, have a good weekend, buddy.
All right, we'll see you, buddy. Thanks.
Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com, here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Yeah, he's got all the All-Stars and everything, a recap of the high school sports season over at pressofac.com, and now he's going to Philly tonight to cover this series between the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. We'll talk to him on Monday to recap it all. Bob Wankel tonight from RedOctoberPhilly.com and Crossing Broad, their Phillies writer, will join us at 5 o'clock tonight. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. Adam Kaplan has football at 4 today as well. We've got a lot of Sixer stuff is brewing. We're going to take a look at that. More text messages coming in. 609-403 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. I'll read off some more of your texts and react to that. It's all coming up on a happy hour Friday on the Sports Bash.
It's this.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
With Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN, text board, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. So, Bleacher Report did an article about the best player at every position in baseball for the first, up to summer right now. Now, I threw it to you before the show, and I told you 2 Phillies made the list.
Right. You gave me at least a little precursor to what I could expect.
Yeah. So they have every position, catcher all the way through the field. They have 1 right-handed pitcher, 1 left-handed pitcher, and 1 relief pitcher. It's not a left-handed reliever and a right-handed reliever. It's just 1 relief pitcher.
Right.
So there are 2 Phillies that made this list of the best players at their position. Do you think you know who they are? Have you thought? Now, I told you guys about this about Hayden, our intern today. He was in here too. And you guys were firing a bunch of people off at me. Now, I did not give you any indication whether you were right or wrong. I just said it's every position in the field, a right-handed pitcher, a left-handed starter, a right-handed starter, and 1 bullpen arm.
So the 2 names I'm going to go with are Bryce Harper and Ranger Suarez, because Harper's in the MVP conversation, and you said a left-handed starter is one of the players that Bleacher Report named, and I think that you can make a pretty good argument that Ranger Suarez is the best left-handed starter in baseball.
So who are your guesses?
Ranger Suarez and Bryce Harper.
Okay, so Ranger Suarez, you think is their choice as the left-handed pitcher.
Yes.
And Bryce Harper as their first baseman.
Those are my guesses.
Okay. Neither one is right.
Wow. Well, bad job by me in that, I guess.
How about that?
So who are the 2 Phillies that they have?
Well, I'm going to see if the listeners can help us out with this one. 609-403-0973.
So who's their first baseman if it's not Harper?
Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
You have a problem with that?
I do. Because Harper is in the MVP conversation, and Freddie Freeman is Freddie Freeman.
Okay. Well, the left-handed pitcher I don't agree with at all.
Who's their left?
Garrett Crochet.
That's horrible.
I mean, he's having a really good year on a team that has 20 wins, but he hasn't been better than Ranger Suarez.
Absolutely not. If you would have said like Imanaga or Chris Sale, I would have been like tolerable at least to that.
Who do you guys think are the 2 Phillies that made the list of the best player at their position this season? 609-403-0973. Hit us up on the text board. I'm interested to see the guesses. That's next.
Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
All right, hour 2 of the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. So Bleacher Report has a list of the best player at every position this year. Catcher, first, second, third, short, left, center, right, designated hitter, right-handed starter, left-handed starter, and one relief pitcher. 2 Phillies made the list, all right? Josh guessed 2 of them. They were both wrong.
And I'm learning very quickly that apparently I am not fitting into any analytics baseball department anytime soon.
Well, they picked Freddie Freeman over Harper. Now, the reasons they wrote in the article are a little bit more advanced metric related, but if you do look at the traditional stats, Freeman's numbers are still better than Harper's virtually everywhere except for home runs.
But it's close. It's not like...
Yeah, it's close. I mean, no one's saying that Freeman is significantly better than Harper.
And
they have to pick one
article.
guy.
And they say that in the article.
They say that in the article, that they slightly went with Freeman based on some advanced metrics where he beats out. But he also beats Harper in batting average, on base percentage. They're virtually tied and he has more runs scored. I mean, RBIs, they're about the same. The only spot where Harper has a little bit of an advantage is he has 17 home runs and Freeman has 11.
Right.
Slugging is 504 to 539 in Harper's favor. OPS is 931 for Harper and 912 for Freeman. WAR, Freeman wins. So they're very close.
Right.
For whatever reason, they valued those advanced metric stats for Freeman a little bit more. So I don't have a problem with them picking Freeman over
I think I have
Harper.
I have more of a problem with them using stats that you and I had to look up to figure out what the heck they were than anything else.
Yeah, well, one of them was F-WAR. The other one is runs created. So their reasoning was Freeman is more valuable at creating runs than Harper has been this year.
Yeah,
so
F-WAR
he said,
sounds like a fake stat.
They also said they are splitting hairs between 2 great players.
At least they admit that, and I can accept that. The left-handed pitcher one is ridiculous.
Well, we'll get to that because there's a lot of guesses on the text board. Let me see. I'm going to quickly... Jeff and Galloway, you got one of the 2. All right. Don't look at them. Don't cheat. Stephen EHT, you didn't get any of them.
Okay.
JP in Ocean City got one. This guy got one. He didn't leave a name.
Lame.
This guy got both of them.
That's a winner right there.
He's the winner. Big Al from Vineland got one.
Okay.
This guy got one. Okay. Let me give you a couple of them. Do you think it's the catcher?
My personal guess is if it's not Harper and Suarez, my next guess would be Alec Bohm.
Okay.
The only reason I don't say catcher is because William Contreras is having a really good year for the Brewers.
Contreras is the pick as the catcher.
Okay.
Rushman was next.
The Orioles.
William Contreras was the catcher.
That would have been my guess for the catcher.
First base we know is now Freddie Freeman. The second baseman, certainly not Stott this year.
No, it's definitely not Stott.
No. But we will see him tonight.
Oh, Marte.
Marte is the second baseman.
All right.
I
can see that. So at least they're not completely driving me nuts here.
The shortstop. You think it's the shortstop?
I'm going to guess the shortstop is Mookie Betts.
Shortstop is Gunnar Henderson.
I was wrong on that too.
Yeah. Betts would factor in the conversation if he was a more natural shortstop, they said. I don't know why that factors in. And he just landed on the list with a fractured hand. I don't know why that would factor in either, but that's why they went with him. But they say Gunnar Henderson leads all shortstop in home runs by a mile with 22. The next guy has 14.
I was just going Mookie Betts because before he got injured, he was the leader for MVP. So.
Okay. Now, a lot of people got one, not the other.
Right.
You just gave an answer.
Alec Bohm?
Alec Bohm. How many people out there think Alec Bohm is the answer for shortstop?
You mean third base.
I mean, for third base. Chris in Northfield, you did get one. And since JT Realmuto is not the catcher, you now know which one you got right. PJ and Little Egg Harbor, both of yours are wrong.
Poor PJ.
Big Al in Vineland, you got one right.
Well, I know it's not.
He tried to guess a second again, and we already told you that Suarez was not right.
I was just going to say really quick, I think I already know who the DH is. I think that's pretty obvious.
Yes.
It's Ohtani.
Ohtani is the DH. I'll give you that. It's not Schwarber, though. Could have been Schwarber.
Ohtani is, though, having an incredible year. You got to give him credit. He is playing at a very high level. So, and Schwarber had a little slow stretch there.
Schwarber's not even the second guy they mentioned. It's Marcelo Zuna, who's the other guy. Yeah. Your outfield is Soto.
Juan Soto having an amazing year for the Yankees.
Judge
also having a great year.
And Profar.
Profar is one of the leaders in the All-Star voting right now. So.
Yeah, and he was a free agent that nobody, he was a very high-rated prospect in Texas and just never kind of made it.
Correct.
But he leads all left fielders in batting average, on base percentage, runs created, F-WAR. So he is, and he's one of the game's best defensive, he's not one of the better defensive left fielders. So that's why they said that there was other guys on the list here. But Profar is the left fielder, which means the one spot we haven't talked about is third base.
Yep.
So my question would be, we know it's not Suarez.
Correct.
Do the Phillies have two pitchers, or is the third baseman Alec Bohm?
I'm leaning to Alec Bohm, personally.
Okay.
Because if you go through the teams specifically the National League, there's not really a good third base right now in the National League. Alec Bohm is third in All-Star voting, and he's far and away the leader.
All-Star voting is fans.
I know that, but what I'm saying is that when you look around to see who is also on that list, you're like, yeah, I understand now why Bohm got so many votes, because there's a lot of guys that are having great years in the National League at third base.
Well, Bohm at third base leads all third basemen in batting average. He's tied in F-WAR. He is top 6 in each / category, whatever that means. I guess it's on base percentage, OPS, slugging.
Slash category is batting average, on base percentage, and slugging.
Okay, but it says top 6. Oh, in each. I thought it said
each
in
of those
the
categories.
6. I thought it said 6 / categories. Just the / categories. Okay, he has 6 in runs created. Alec Bohm was the pick for the best third baseman in all of baseball right now.
Are you okay with that, Mike Gill?
I'm a little surprised that Bohm is getting the national attention that he potentially deserves. I would say yes. Now, they're right. You might prefer the power of Jose Ramirez and Rafael Devers or the defense of Joey Ortiz. But that Bohm right now is the most complete third baseman in all of baseball. So they said he has the third highest F-WAR among third basemen. And, of course, he's also on the best team in the league, so that adds to it as well. He's the 4-hitter. He has 60 RBI. The one area that Bohm doesn't excite people is he only has 7 home runs.
That's true.
And if you would you rather Jose Ramirez playing third base for the Phillies right now or Alec Bohm?
Alec Bohm.
All right. Well,
I value those RBI. I don't, for me personally, I don't care he has 7 home runs because he has 60 RBI. To me, it's more valuable to have runs batted in than the just hit homers. Because guess what? You could hit a lot of solo homers and have a big stat line, right? But he is showing you that when he comes to bat, he is a weapon as a guy to drive in runs. And I value driving in runs more than just homers.
Well, listen, the one thing for me, it's more than just the RBI for Bohm that stands out. Charlie Manuel was on PHLY yesterday, and he was talking about how good of an approach Bohm has, which kind of makes me feel good because one of the things that I have liked about Bohm is his approach. Mm-hmm. So I've been kind of saying one of the things I like about Bohm is I think he has a great approach. And hearing Charlie Manuel say that yesterday kind of made me feel like, okay, maybe I know what I'm looking for. But I think Bohm's approach is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he thinks about Bohm is that there's more power in him, and he kind of shows why he thinks there's more power there. But he says one of the reasons why he's such a good hitter is because he doesn't care about hitting for power. Where so many guys, their batting average dips is because they care about hitting home runs. And one of the things that makes Bohm such a good hitter and such an RBI guy, and this is the number for Bohm that stands out for me. If you go back to last year and again this year, forget the RBIs, it's his batting average with runners in scoring position. He hits like over 400. Like, so if there's guys on base, he locks in and shortens up and makes sure he puts the ball in play. He uses all fields. So his power numbers are down because I think he elects them to be down.
Right.
I think he says, I am more willing to use the whole field and go the other way and just hit a single just to drive in the run. Because he could hit a two-run homer, but he elects not to almost. And I think that bothers people that he's a corner infielder and he doesn't hit for big-time power. Alec Bohm, by accident, hits 20 home runs, but I think if he wanted to, he probably could hit 250 and hit 30 home runs. But he's electing kind of – now, last year he was like 285 or 275, somewhere in that range, and his numbers are just – like you look across, you're like, he's pretty average. He's not pretty average when you look at the runners in scoring position. And the RBIs he drives in is the biggest number for me. That, to me, are you hitting with runners on base? Can you hit in the key spots? Those are the numbers for me that tell me that he is a very good hitter.
And that's why I said it's more valuable. He's a more valuable player than just a guy who hits home runs. It goes, Mike, you had Dave Gallagher on before, and you guys have talked about how these players who worry about home runs, the launch angle, them trying to, they literally, Gallagher was telling you before, like he did his whole explanation here on the Sports Bash. Dave Gallagher was telling you that when these guys are trying to hit home runs, the entire angle of their swing changes. So they basically have no chance to hit certain balls, is the way he explained it. And so if Alec Bohm is saying, I'm not going to change my swing motion just to hit home runs, I'm going to get more base hits, I'm going to get more RBI, I'm going to be more of a threat as a hitter. To me, that is way more valuable than, Jose Ramirez get 35, 40 homers, but have a 260 batting average. So to me, give me Bohm.
A lot of people like the big home runs. That's it. I mean, it's just a preference, I think. Now, right now, Bohm is hitting over 300.
Right.
Which last year he did not.
He had 274 last year, 280 the year before.
Yeah, those numbers are, in today's game, they're good, very good, 280. But 306 in today's game is really good. Would I like to see the power numbers up? Sure, but the 60 RBI, I think he's got 60 RBI because he's not hitting for as much power as maybe people want him to do. But his slugging numbers and his OPS is 840, which is better than Kyle Schwarber right now.
Right.
And Schwarber has 17 home runs.
By the way, Alec Bohm also leads the National League in doubles. So he's not just making contact. He's making really good contact. He's driving the ball into the gaps. And he's putting himself, not just batting guys in, Mike, he's putting himself in scoring position at the same time.
All right, so Bohm is the third baseman.
I'm happy to see they recognized Bohm.
Alec Bohm was picked as the best third baseman. They did the best MLB player at every position right now.
Right.
And Alec Bohm was picked as the third baseman. We have gone through the entire offense, and we know Garrett Crochet is
the left-handed
pitcher.
Which is not my choice at all.
Which means the other Philly is either the right-handed starting pitcher or the relief pitcher.
I'm going to assume it's the right-handed starting pitcher.
And that would be?
Zach Wheeler.
Okay. He's going Zach Wheeler. Do the listeners agree or disagree? Somebody said Nola. 609-403-0973. It's not Nola.
to me, I go Wheeler in part because, and again, I am not a baseball analytics guy, so maybe I'm a bit of a get off my lawner. I don't look at the Phillies bullpen. I know Strom's having a great year with his ERA and his whip and everything, but I'm assuming that the best relief pitcher would be someone who they think is basically shutting guys down for saves. And Strom is not a traditional closer, so that's why I'm trying to rationalize and say that they might go Wheeler because there's probably some other numbers that I'm not thinking of that probably vaults him over some other guys. And also Wheeler's having a really good year, so it's not like it would be a crazy idea to say Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is right there in the Cy Young conversation.
He's right there, but he wasn't the pick. Tyler Glasnow is the pick, with Corbin Burns, Tanner Houck, Zach Wheeler, Logan Gilbert making the conversation.
So I'm sure there's some analytics number that I'm not familiar with that probably puts Glasnow over the top.
Yeah, they said his ERA is 12th among starters. His 2.48x ERA is the best. I don't know what that means. He ranks 4th in FIP, 2nd in XFIP. Even though his WAR is not perfect by any measure pitching, he is 2nd in that category.
Where's DMX when you explain all this to me?
The most impressive, they're saying, is 12 strikeouts per 9. That leads all right-handers. His whip is number 1 among right-handers as well. They basically says his advanced numbers don't lie. He's been the best guy.
Listen, the strikeouts per 9 innings is pretty incredible. And you always talk about, Mike, that people don't value whip enough. So it seems like, at least for this conversation, they value those numbers and they put him over the top.
Yep. Garrett Crochet was the left-handed starter.
Horrible pick. Not because he's having a bad year, because he is having a very good year. But there's nobody who would say, if you got to start a game to win right now, they're picking Garrett Crochet over Ranger Suarez.
They just said he's been the best. Maybe they're not picking him as the guy to start a game.
Well, maybe my criteria is just different.
Matt Strom is the other Philly who has been picked as the best player at his position.
That's
and
shocking.
Quite frankly, they're saying it's not all that close, that there is not a major stat line that Strom is not dominating and been the most impressive. It says, do you like traditional ERA? He's the best. If you're more into independent pitching scales, he's the leader in that too. If you like FIP for ballpark adjustment, he's number 1. He is number 1 in FWAR. He has basically been the most dominant pitcher in all of baseball. Only Chapman and Hader average more strikeouts per 9, but Strom has a better strikeout to walk ratio. So, and they do mention in the story that Matt Strom was a top-rated prospect that struggled with consistency, but now with Philadelphia, he is breaking out and showing the consistency, and that is why he has been named the best relief pitcher in all of baseball. So the team includes Alec Boehm and Matt Strom as the best players at their position for 2024.
So I just went to MLB.com and did a little bit of a stat poll. So if you were to look at Strom, and what they're saying is they don't care about saves, right? They are just saying just straight across the board, which again, I am a little surprised about, because you look at Cleveland's pitcher Klaus. He's got 22 saves this year, Mike, and an 0.76 ERA, and he has an 0.62 whip. Also, Finnegan, who pitches for Washington, 0.83 whip and a 1.72 ERA and 21 saves. What Bleacher Report is basically saying is we don't value those two guys getting saves. We value all this other stuff for Strom. That's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, well, it's just showing you how dominant he's been. That's what it essentially is saying, is that he has been numerically the most dominating pitcher that they can find. Saves aside.
That's wild.
Yeah. Listen, I was surprised by both the picks because I thought Wheeler and Suarez would be in the conversation. Certainly Suarez. I can see Glasnow maybe over Wheeler.
Yeah.
If you're going there. You said you liked Harper better than Freeman. Okay. I think they're close enough that it doesn't really, stand out which guy should have been the pick.
Really quick, as a baseball guy, Mike, do you not value saves anymore yourself, or do you think that maybe that should be valued?
Oh, no, I definitely value them and think it's valued. It's a skill. Like, to be able to get those last 3 outs, I definitely think that's something.
So then, to me, that means that they should have gone with the save guy then, but they didn't.
What are the Clippers going to do with Paul George? Hear what Woj thinks about that. Are the Sixers still even interested? That's all coming up next on the Sports Bash Live on a happy hour Friday here on the Sports Bash.
You're listening to with Mike Gill.
And it just keeps getting better.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
The days of being able to max out your 30-something-year-old stars and be able to still put a roster around them that can win, it's a really difficult thing to do. And so teams you're going to see are going to have to make harder decisions. And certainly with that comes risk. There's risk that Paul George could walk into somebody else's cap space. And if he leaves, it opens up the door with the salary cap. But you're going to see more of this in the league. And certainly a player like Paul George, this is his last big contract. You would understand why he'd want a 4-year deal. The Clippers have to decide whether they want to pay $50 million plus.
That was Woj talking about Paul George. What could be happening with him? Now, you heard some reports out there that the Sixers' interest in him is kind of waning. Is this agent talk? Is this George trying to get some leverage here? Is this George saying, I don't really want to go to the Sixers, and they're the only team that has any money? Well, it could be a variation of everything here. Paul George might say, I don't know that the Sixers are going to offer me the money that I'm making right now, $48 million. So maybe I opt into the deal so I can get my $48 million and then ask the Clippers to trade me. Now, would they be interested, the Sixers, in trading for Paul George? That seems to be kind of interesting. But the big story of the NBA offseason, according to Zach Lowe, centers around the Sixers and their salary cap. That will be the big story on June the 30th when NBA free agency begins.
The Sixers cap space is the biggest story in the NBA. Whether it's Paul George, multiple players, another star, it's fact. They need a big upgrade.
Should it be multiple players or should it be Paul George?
It depends on the specifics, depends who the players are, but there's definitely a good argument for, hey, if we can split it up among, these 2 guys or these 3 guys, maybe that makes us a better team.
So, yeah. There's 2 ways the Sixers can do this. They can basically spend it all on one guy, or they can break it up around. They have a lot of different ways to go. It's one of the things that Daryl Morey has done really well. He's put them in position to have plan A, B, and C. What's the first domino of the NBA offseason? Zach Lowe on the Low Post podcast.
The first real domino, though, I think is going to be Paul George and what happens with the Clippers if he really is truly interested in leaving the Clippers. Obviously, extension talks have not borne any fruit. Free agency is about to start, and the Sixers are sitting there waiting. They're going to use this cap space one way or another. I'm sure they love to get Paul George.
They have to use this cap space one way or another. They don't really have an option. You use it or lose it. So the Phillies are obviously going to have to use their cap space. But the first domino, as Zach Lowe said, is Paul George. Why? For 2 reasons. One, J.J. Redick getting hired yesterday means that LeBron James is going to go back to the Lakers. He's not going to become a free agent, so he is now most likely off the board. Not that anybody really thought that was a real possibility. Anyway, how great would it be, though, if LeBron James forced the Lakers into hiring J.J. Redick and then opted out and bolted? How great would that be?
Actually, it would be funny if the Lakers drafted Bronny. They bring in J.J. Redick, and LeBron says, no, I'm going to go somewhere else. Like, if they, double down, right? If they drafted Bronny as well.
Yeah. So that is the first domino. It's Paul George and the Sixers waiting to see what ends up happening there. But what happens, and McGarry was bringing this up earlier. He got kind of knocked off, but he mentioned the name OG Anunoby. What happens if, let's say, Paul George opts into the deal and then ends up asking for a trade to go to a place like the Knicks? That can open up OG Anunoby to leave New York in free agency, and that could possibly land him here.
Look, the Sixers and the Knicks are kind of in the same place when it comes to needing a player like that, an upgrade there. For the Knicks, obviously, with OG Anunoby, not as much as the Sixers would need him. If the Sixers got him, absolutely puts them right there behind the Celtics in the East.
So if Paul George goes to the Knicks, OG could be there for the Sixers, and Zach Lowe on the Low Post podcast furthered that conversation.
There's been reports elsewhere about some potential, is there wiggle room with OG Anunoby and the Knicks? Is OG happy with the offer that's being floated out there? I would still be pretty optimistic given all the connections that he's going to be a Knick, but the Sixers are looming there as like, hey, we got to use it. It's like use it or lose it almost for us. We got to use it now.
There you go. Use it or lose it. And if OG, there's been some reports that he's not happy with the offer that the Knicks are coming up with for him. So he could say, no, the Knicks turn their attention to Paul George, and then OG becomes the guy that maybe the Sixers zone in on. Will we rather see the Sixers go get Paul George or the younger player like OG Anunoby? What if they get none of them? Well, Zach Lowe says the Sixers would then have to go in a completely different direction to build around Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid is right in his prime. His health has been unreliable. We got to try to win. And if they don't get either of those guys, they could split that room among 2, 3, 4 different kinds of players. Maybe that is the better model for them. A bunch of names have been mentioned, and one that I don't think has been mentioned. I think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a free agent to watch this summer, potentially as a player option. He's in a good position to secure a nice long-term deal. I think Philly would take a look at him.
Two-time NBA champion Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Not the most exciting name. He averaged 10 points a game this year, shot about 40% from three, but he won a championship with Denver, won a championship with the Lakers. Could he be that other guy? See, for me, the problem is he's not your third guy. He is, like we keep saying that the Sixers have all this depth this year, like the Kelly Oubre and all those guys. And come playoff time, though, you need one of those guys to be better. Like Derek White is not a star. Is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope your version of Derek White?
I think he can be because of the fact that, one, the championship experience. I don't think that is something that you can ignore. And number two, he's a very underrated 3-and-D guy. He is a guy that can hit some threes, that can play defense, multiple positions. And to me, Mike, I believe one of the reasons why a team like the Celtics didn't easily cruise to a championship in certain rounds this year, why they lost that one game to the Miami Heat with that Jimmy Butler, why they basically had to let the Pacers shoot themselves in the foot to win some of those games, and why the Mavs did beat them in that one game is because of athletes. KCP is an athlete, and I think that if you have guys like him, it could definitely make life more difficult for Boston.
Well, I would say this. If you end the summer and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is the best free agent that you got,
that's unacceptable.
You did not have a good enough summer.
But what if there's a possibility that you go out and you say, hey, we're going to go, let's say they do land OG Anunoby, right? And let's say you get KCP on one of those, veteran, kind of deals where maybe he's not overpaid, but he's not underpaid, kind of like that mid-level exception. And then you build the roster like that and you say, look, we got Joel, we got Tyrese, and we got all these dudes who can shoot threes and play defense.
That's what you thought you had this year, though.
But is OG Anunoby and KCP, are they not better than what you had this year?
Yeah, I guess so. Anybody's better than Tobias Harris. I tweeted out yesterday. There was no Phillies last night, so there was more on my mind, right? And
your mind was wandering.
Yeah, so I said that that it just hit me that I was forced to watch Tobias Harris for the past 5 years. I'm never going to get that time back. I'm owed something. Is there a class action suit here that I got forced into watching Tobias Harris?
You got bamboozled.
So, yeah, OG Anunoby would be better than Tobias Harris. Is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope better than Oubre?
I would say he's a different player than Oubre. I don't know if he's literally better than Oubre. Because the one thing with Oubre is that there were times this year in the regular season that he did have some really good games.
Yeah, the regular season.
but Pope is probably the better postseason player. So, it's the...
I think one of the disappointing things, besides Harris being awful, was that Kelly Oubre Jr. did not consistently... He wasn't consistently that third guy. Now you would say, well, he wasn't supposed to be the third guy. You're right. Tobias Harris was, but he sucked. So somebody else had to step up and do it. And you were hoping it could have been Kelly Oubre, and he wasn't that guy. And listen, I don't blame Kelly Oubre. That's not what he was signed for. He wasn't supposed to be the third guy. But there were signs during the season that maybe he was ready to take that role. And the problem is the regular season's not the playoffs.
So then would you be okay with saying, give me the guy who I know shows up in the postseason, but he might not be the guy in the regular season?
Well, that's a fair question because we saw that a couple of years ago when the Sixers went out and got P.J. Tucker, and he gave you nothing during the regular season, and then he did play a little bit better in the regular season. He was better in the regular season. I mean, in the playoffs, Tucker was. In fact, in the one game, he was about the only guy who showed up.
He's the only guy who showed up in Game 7. He was bombing threes away, and he's looking around like, anybody else going to help me here?
Yeah, so if you gave me a guy, and listen, I don't think Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was going to be a nothing burger, but he's only, he's a 10-point-a-game guy. Oubre, one of the things with Oubre this past year was that, and I said this before, this was back, what was so disappointing about him was that he was a guy in the regular season that averaged for the Sixers, 15 points a game. And I said, even the game that they lost to the Knicks, I wasn't asking you to score 15. He only scored 4. If he gave me 10, they would have won that game. So, listen, they have to figure out a way. I don't know who they decide to bring back. Oubre, Hield, DeAnthony Melton, Cameron Payne, Kyle Lowry, Nick Batum. One or two of those guys I anticipate being back. Fine. There's still a lot of spots on this roster that need to be filled. Tobias Harris is going to be gone. Buddy Hield, I would likely say, is gone. I think Paul Reed is interesting. But I would think you're going to need at least 5 to 6 new bodies here.
Yeah, I'm assuming that if you have to build out this roster, you're going to see it, I would say 4 to 6 new players at least on this team. Just because you tried doing it one way and it didn't work the way you thought it would.
Well, that many new players because you only have 2 signed. I mean, unless you're bringing back 5 guys that you had here last year, and I don't think that's the case.
I don't think so either. I can see Kelly Oubre coming back. I can see Melton coming back. I don't know about Buddy Hield. I feel like the Buddy Hield thing, that might be like if they have nobody else to put on the roster, they need to put a body on there.
The Hield one's interesting. You remember that they made the trade for Hield, and Daryl Morey made it like, hey, we got the best player in the trade in the whole market. And, he had a great game the one night, the game they lost.
Right, the playoff game that they lost, where he went bombs away the final game against the Knicks.
Did that say, hey, he showed us that he could be a big game player?
I don't know. And I don't know for what he's going to ask for either.
Sports Bash this hour brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating and plumbing service installation, and they've done it for generations. If you need plumbing, heating, AC, you don't need heating right now, I can tell you that much. But if you need AC for this weekend, which is supposed to be ridiculously hot, and something happens, call Broadlee's 609-390-3907 or online at broadlees.net. When we come back, the Phillies lineup is out. I've got that for you. Coming up next here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and streaming live video on the X platform at 973 ESPN. Use the hashtag SBLive.
It's the Sports Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
3:45 on a happy hour Friday. What are you having this weekend to kick off the summer? The official start of the summer was yesterday. Let us know what you're having to start the summer off. Give us a good recommendation. I need something for the weekend here. Having a little BBQ in my backyard this weekend. What am I going to have? Give me a good recommendation. 609-403-0973. What are you having this weekend? Give me something good. Somebody give me a good one. I haven't got a good recommendation in a couple of weeks, Josh. The listeners have let me down on the Happy Hour Fridays.
You're disappointed.
I am disappointed. Very disappointed.
You felt like you were led on, and then they kind of disappeared on you. They ghosted you.
I have got so many great recommendations over Happy Hour Fridays.
You have, yes.
And for whatever reason, the recommendations have dried up a bit.
Are people running out of ideas?
Come on. It's a great area for great cold brewskis. So Happy Hour Friday, and we're going to be doing some stuff for Happy Hour Friday this summer. I've got details on that coming up here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. The Phillies lineup is out, and it's brought to you by our friends over at Clark's Moving and Storage, located in Rio Grande. Moving's a breeze with Clark's Moving and Storage. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos. Sosa is at second base tonight. No Stott. Merrifield is in left. No Marsh. Pache is in center. Marchand is catching. No Stubbs. And Walker is on the mound tonight. Taijuan Walker. That's your lineup for the Phils. So you got Sosa at second base because there's a lefty, Jordan Montgomery, pitching. So Montgomery's on the mound, which means no Stott, no Marsh, and no Stubbs tonight.
They got two lefties going this weekend, Mike, for the Diamondbacks, and I was curious to see going into this weekend, do they put Marsh or Stubbs, Marsh, Stubbs, or Stott, easy for me to say, those three in any of those games against left-handers, or do they just say, look, you guys sit on the bench, be part of the daycare, cheer the guys on, and we'll deal with the lefties?
The problem so far for Marsh, he has given no indication that he can hit left-handed pitching. And I think you have enough other options. As much as Marsh is the most popular of those options, he just does not hit left-handed pitching. I mean, the numbers are dreadful against lefties this year. Right. He's hitting 128. He's hitting 300 against righties. He's been a valuable piece against right-handers, but I can't have a guy hitting 128 against left-handed pitching. It's not a rite of passage that he's going to be in the lineup. So I would imagine that he is out of the lineup both times this weekend that you see a left-handed pitcher.
What about Stott? Do you feel like he might get in there maybe, if not today, then maybe tomorrow?
Stott would be more, I would imagine. Now, the thing is with Sosa now available to play second base, we talked about this before, you're not going to see Sosa playing shortstop very much. So do you start to see a split a little bit more at second base? Bryson Stott this year has not been the same player that he was a year ago. He's hitting 239. Right. He's been a pretty big disappointment in that spot. But he actually hits lefties better than he hits righties. 246 against lefties, 237 against righties. So his argument would be, I'm just getting off to a slow start. It's not the lefty-righty thing.
And if it's not the lefty-righty thing, then, do you just say, look, take a day off today, and we'll get you back in there for the weekend?
I'm just interested to see how much they value Sosa and how much they want him to keep playing.
Right.
Like, do they have to find ways now? In other words, hey, there's a tough lefty. You're going to play second. Hey, I mean, they said they want to try to get him to play some left field maybe. I mean, is that something we could see? I don't know. I mean, you're trying to find Merrifield at bats. You're trying to find at bats for Marsh. You're trying to find ways to get Sosa some playing time. You're not going to play him. I can't imagine he's going to get a lot of time at third base.
I mean, is it as simple as, hey, whoever has the better day today, that guy plays tomorrow? Is like, if Sosa has a good hitting day today and Merrifield goes 0 for 4, do you put Sosa in left field tomorrow?
No, I know everyone's like, hey, this guy had 4 hits. Why are you sitting him? I mean, it's just a lot of times these things are scripted out ahead of time. Like, hey, so-and-so's just going to sit today. Or, they look at all the stats. This guy is hitting 600 against this particular pitcher, so we want to get him in the lineup on that particular day. I mean, to me, that's how Sosa gets in the lineup. Somebody is facing a pitcher that he doesn't fare well against, and therefore Sosa will be the guy. But finding at-bats for Sosa, I think, is going to be challenging for them, as it's been for Merrifield. Trying to find days and ways to get him into the lineup here is, it's not something that you envy. And when Real Muto comes back, that'll obviously be another decision they have to make on who goes. Is it Stubbs or Marchand? But up to now, you have a team that is pretty set except for how do I get my bench guys? Because you don't have a lot of power options after Harper in that 4-hole that is consistent. Castellanos is one, but he's not consistent.
Right.
Bohm, you don't really think of as a power option. So when you sit Bohm, you are really taking away your best run producer. So it's hard to take him out of the lineup because the bottom of your lineup just doesn't hit a lot of home runs.
Yeah, and the other thing is this gets into the conversation of, you mentioned about the catchers. Well, what do they do, for example, at the deadline? We keep talking about, do they get an outfielder? Do they get this guy? Do they get that guy? Do they have to consider, Mike, well, Merrifield has not hit well this year, right, except for a couple games. Do we have to
Merrifield's been dreadful.
Do we have to find a Merrifield type of player at the deadline because he didn't give us what we needed from him? Do we need a guy who can't just play the outfield but can play the infield?
I think they have that guy. The problem for Merrifield right now is him and Sosa are
duplicitous.
Pretty much. Especially if Sosa's going to become an outfielder. Like, now, if you're Rob Thompson, you have to try to find ways to get 2 utility guys, super utility guys, playing time.
So is the answer you have to find a way to unload Merrifield off this roster?
I would think if they could, they probably would at this point. You have a sample size up to June, and he is hitting a whopping
I know it's under 200.
190.
Yeah.
He's got 121 at-bats, which is, it's a decent sample size. It's put it this way. He's got 14 less at-bats than Sosa does. Mm-hmm. Sosa's hitting 274. He's hitting 190. So if I'm penciling one of those guys in, now they're both in the lineup tonight.
Right.
But if I'm putting one of those guys in the lineup, I'm picking Sosa right now. Right. He's in one. Sosa's played 44 games. Merrifield's played 40. The numbers aren't close.
Yeah.
Merrifield's been. Now the funny part is, you take a look at when Cody Clemens comes back. What do you do then? Because now you have 3 guys that fill that super utility role.
And the other problem as well is Cody Clemens is a left-handed hitter, so he has limited opportunities as well to be in the lineup.
David Dahl, your boy's hitting 182.
Yeah, he's failed me. He let me down. He failed this city.
Not a surprise. Dahl can't play. Stinks. He did give up his jersey number 35, though.
That was nice. I think he realizes that the end is coming.
Sports Bash Live. When we come back, Adam Kaplan has football at 4. Host of the Inside the Birds podcast. That's next. This is the Sports Bash. This hour brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Call 609-390-3907. It's going to be a hot one out there if something happens to your AC. Online at broadlees.net.
97.3 ESPN presents the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Kaplan, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
I give my heart and soul to this franchise, as so many of us do.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Adam Kaplan from the Inside the Birds podcast is here on this happy hour Friday as we take a look at some of their big concerns. It's the latest Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms, and check out their YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds for Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. Adam Kaplan is here on this Friday edition, and, a lot of concerns for every team, but some key concerns and issues for the Eagles as we get ready for training camp, which is about a month from our conversation today. Adam Kaplan, how are you?
It is, yeah. The Eagles reported on July 23rd. Now, you should know they don't do anything the first 5 days of note. You can't, because there's the acclimation period, which came in really starting the 11 CBA, so you won't get, in terms of training camp battles, it'll take at least a week to start seeing that. But, Yeah, look, the Heat is this, Mike. We're in for it with this Heat. I mean, this is crazy what we're getting. We may not get rain here in Philly for at least 2 weeks. It's not good. But hey, we're in the summer. It is what it is. It's good for baseball because there could be some home runs. And but by the way, before we get started, I don't know if you saw I actually just watched them this afternoon. The Who Killed WCW on the Vice channel. Really good. I saw the parts 2 and 3, and part 4 comes this Tuesday. Really good. I enjoy that. For your listeners who like wrestling, who grew up with it like you and I did in the 80s and 90s, really good documentaries. Yep, I'm up to speed. I'm up to all 3. I'm looking forward to the 4th one on Tuesday night. I've been checking that all out. And, of course, that is Adam's entrance music is the NWO entrance music for our football at 4 here. But, hey, let's play the villain here. What are some of the concerns for this Eagles team? I would imagine at the top of that list you got a key guy on offense and a key guy on defense that are no longer here. Yeah, look, that's part of the show that we dropped yesterday is on this, and it's really things that they don't really control. First of all, they don't control Kelsey, their starting center, a 6th-round pick in 2011, who's going to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame someday. He's now a broadcaster for ESPN. They don't control his retirement or Fletcher Cox's retirement, who has a real shot to make the Hall of Fame. They decided to go out together. Well, not. I mean, they went out the same year together. I mean, they both kind of knew it before the season started. This would be their last, and they did go through with their decision to retire. And it's a concern, and there's no question. Cam Jurgens has not played a lot of center. Started 2 years at Nebraska. Hasn't had a chance to be a center yet in the National Football League, but they drafted him specifically to be Kelsey's replacement. It was not going to be Landon Dickerson. They never considered that. It was going to be Jurgens. And Jeff Stoughton's convinced it's going to work. The Eagles are convinced it's going to work. And, Mike, one thing about Cam Jurgens, and you know their history of extending contracts, if he plays well this season, you know they're going to go to him and his agency to extend his contract. So how he plays this season will play largely into whether he gets extension or not. Yeah, and Jurgens, obviously, at that right guard last year, now he goes and plays the position that they really drafted him for. We'll see if he can fill the shoes of Jason Kelsey. And, Fletcher Cox, you mentioned on the other side of the ball, are Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter the definitive answers there? And are they ready to kind of fill what has been, over a decade-long almost dominance at that position? Yeah, look, in everything that Fletcher did, whether he played a 3, he's mostly a 3 technique, but he could play 5 and 7. In fact, if you might remember one year when the Eagles were playing a 43 front, he played a little bit of defensive end. So Jalen Carter is incredibly gifted. We never got a straight answer other than we know what the tape looked like. It wasn't very good. Carter's performance fell off the final quarter of the season. We don't know why it happened, which is what I'm getting at. But, again, there's nobody else here. They don't have any depth at defensive tackle. Moro Jones was not ready to be a starting player or to play 40 snaps a game if need be. Marlon Tuipulotu is right now they consider to be their top backup. 2 years ago, Mike, during their Super Bowl run, before he got hurt and was lost for the season, he was playing actually a lot of snaps. He's one of their better backup tackles, but that was it. He was not a factor last season. So it's got to be Jordan Davis, who's more of a 1-position player or 2-position player, but again, he's more of a nose. So these guys got to play well. They know what they got in Milton Williams, who, by the way, is eligible to be extended now if the Eagles want to do it. I don't know if Milton would do it because he could be headed for a big free agent payday somewhere else next year. But that's it. I mean, those are the guys who are going to fill in. And I like that they're young. This is something we're going to talk about on Mondays Inside the Birds, a reason for optimism. A lot of it is youth-based, Mike. They're getting younger. That's always a good thing. Yeah, Milton Williams is a guy that Jeff and I talked about yesterday. He went from 4 sacks 2 years ago to a half a sack last year. So he kind of took a step back last year. He was a guy that I was hopeful that could have taken, and he had over 100 more snaps last year than he did the year before. So Milton Williams will be an interesting guy to see if he can kind of regain that form that he had from 2 years ago. Speaking of regaining form, Adam Kaplan, I guess the biggest question and concern and issue would be, can Jalen Hurts regain his from 2022? Yeah, Mike, this is Jeff and I, we've outlined this on our shows the last couple of weeks, is, what happened with Hurts? Like, was it Was it more scheme-based? Was it him? Processing, as we talked about this week, was a real problem. Sure as hell wasn't a problem 2 years ago. It's kind of weird how he held on the ball too long, indecisive. That's a processing issue. What we've said on Inside the Birds is this scheme is very quarterback-friendly under Kellen Moore. It's his scheme. He'll be running it, not Nick Sirianni. Sirianni will have very little to do with the offense. They'll keep some stuff that Kellen Moore likes and Hurts likes, but it's Kellen Moore's show here on offense. And I'm expecting Hurts to bounce back. Man, if he doesn't, and then we outline this on our contract show, Eagles can't really get out of his contract. There's some bad information out there. They really can't. There's triggers on his contract, like they've got these advance guarantees on his contract. Like if they, not that they would ever cut him, but if 1 year, let's say they wanted to cut him, it's punitive. It'll kill their cap. There's a lot of guaranteed money. There's not any really good time for them to get out of it. It's just that there's a structure on this contract. They got a break on the guaranteed money at signing, but he got a major break on structure. They just need him to get back to where he was 2 years ago. He didn't have to play at that elite level, but he can't be a reason, Mike, and he was part of it, a reason why they didn't go for in the playoffs last season. So he's got to be better.
Yeah, we know that. Any feedback on how Moore's offense is being received early on yet in these OTAs? Like, are people? It sounded like some of the receivers like the more motion from reading some of that stuff. Have you hearing anything about how the players kind of receive this offense?
Nothing in particular, but we have a great note where you're going to hear on Monday about Keenan Allen on how he felt about the Chargers offense last season. And his numbers, Mike, he had a bad injury which ended his season. His numbers, Mike, he might have, had he played all 17 games, this is insane. I'm not joking. There was a chance for him to put up 200 pass targets. 200 pass targets, Mike.
Yeah.
He was incredible in that offense. It's too bad that they got blitzed by injury. That Kellen Moore, by the way, I don't care how good their offense was going to be, he would not be back with Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh does not run that type of system.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because many people have said if he was so good, why didn't the Chargers keep him? They changed the coach.
Nothing to do with it.
Right, they changed the coach.
Greg Roman will always be Harbs' guy at the NFL level. They got the Super Bowl together. Greg Roman from Atlantic City, he's had some criticism because it was all about the run. Well, his run scheme is the most sophisticated in the National Football League. It's just not going to work. That's not what Harbs wants.
All right, let's look at, you mentioned Hurts. Can he regain his form? He's got two great receivers, but what about the rest of them?
Yeah, boy, this is a concern for me, the depth receiver. With Devontae Parker's sudden retirement, which is so bizarre, Mike, I don't remember a player retiring before OTA started. Like, that's one of the strangest retirement times. He released a statement that he wanted to be with his family. Hey, I'm all for that. That's a good thing. But just from a football standpoint, the timing is very odd. Why not do it right after the draft or right before the draft? Neither happened. So right now, Paris Campbell, who got benched with the Giants last season, he is their third receiver. He doesn't have any competition for it. He'll be the main backup for Devontae Smith. He'll also be their probably lead to be their slot. And the slot receiver is important in this offense because they're primarily a three-receiver offense under Kellen Moore. So, look, they're going to have to add another receiver veteran at some point. Doesn't have to be now. It doesn't have to be the start of training camp. But by the start of the regular season, they're going to have to do something. And, Mike, if Paris Campbell gets hurt in training camp, they got we didn't even talk about that, but we'll talk about it now. They got a major problem. They don't know who would be his backup. They don't have that guy right now. So he's got to stay healthy. Yeah,
I would imagine, Adam, that they're going to be scouring camps and cuts to see what happens in training camp at that position.
Yeah, in fact, for the Patreon members, I know there's some Patreon members we have, patreon.com/InsideTheBirds who are listening, we put up our list of what you just talked about, best available street free agents for receiver. It's not a very good list. There are a lot of slot receivers. They don't need a slot receiver right now. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but that's not what they need. Anai Smith is really a slot receiver, so it's not good, but you make a good point. They could just wait to see who gets cut. The Eagles have done this before. Teams will do that, and it's certainly a buyer's market. The problem is there's really not. It's just not a great list. There's always a reason why these guys are on the street right now.
Let's go to that safety, and is Bradbury a part of this? When you talk about the safety depth, do you include him in that? And I would imagine if you're looking at concerns, that safety depth has got to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, look, he got snaps in OTAs before he got hurt. I don't know how many he got, but as I understand, he got some. He was going to get snaps had he not gotten hurt. We don't even know what the injury was. We know it's soft tissue. We don't know exactly what it is. Yeah, their plan is to cross-train him, to have him play corner and safety, and we'll see what it looks like at training camp, Mike. It's right now, so you've got Gardner Johnson, really terrific player, big injury history. Reed Blankenship, concussion issues. Let's hope it doesn't continue to happen, but is an okay starter. After that, C.D. Brown, as I keep telling people, it's not a question whether he'll be ready week one, but how effective could he be if he's missing all of training camp or most of it? The sadness of him getting hurt, Mike, he was doing so well, I'm told, before he got hurt for the ACL injury, so we don't know what he's going to look like. And that's really Andre Sampson, undrafted free agent. Tristan McCollum's barely played. He's more of a fourth or fifth safety. Mekhi Garner is more of a fourth safety. And of course, now Avonte Maddox could certainly do it. They had him doing an OTA. So, Mike, it's not great. Like, they probably need to add another safety. They don't need two of them. They need one more guy. Whereas at corner, they got too many guys. Like last summer, I told everyone, be careful saying they have too many corners. They don't. They don't have enough good ones. Corners aren't a problem, though. They're feeling pretty good about the talent level there. But safety, Mike, is an issue right now.
One corner we were talking about yesterday because somebody found Zach McPherson and had him on a podcast, and he had a couple interesting things to say. But his name is never mentioned in that group. Is he a guy that is not in the running to make this team?
Oh, Zach McPherson?
Yeah.
Well, we reported last summer that the word around the team was that was going to be they wanted to see him show that he could be on the roster more than a special teams player. They didn't draft him to be a special teams player. Like, you don't draft a guy in the fourth round to be only special teams. That's not the way it works. Like a 6th or 7th round pick, maybe you could get away with it.
Sure.
But not in the fourth round. You have to compete for a job. And that's why they wanted to cross-train him inside, and he never, I think they started doing it, and then he got hurt. He tore his Achilles. Right. So, yeah, I've never heard any talk about safety. We'll see if they cross-train him. I've not heard that. But he's a guy, Mike, that has teams value, no question. Before he got hurt, he was one of the best special teams players. But now, Mike, at slot corner, Maddox, of course. Rodgers really has not played slot. He did very little with the Colts. Only when Kenny Moore got hurt did he play inside. Now, long-term, teams thought because of his body frame, 175 to 180, he was going to have to eventually only play slot because he's too small. Well, the Eagles aren't there yet. Right now, he's an outside corner. But your slot corners, they've got DeJean could do it and probably will. Tyler Hall that's really what he is, and the Eagles really like him. He had some good snaps. The Raiders inside. Parry Nickerson, who they just signed last week, was in their OTAs. He could do it. Sean Stevens can do it. So, Mike, they no longer have a problem at slot. And outside, the Eagles are loaded at corner. That's not a problem for them. And they're really happy now with Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers as key backups. So I don't know with Zach. I don't know. He's all of a sudden they have overglut at slot and outside. It's going to be hard for him to answer your question, Mike. It's going to be hard for him to make it. Wouldn't rule it out. And the problem is he's coming off a major injury. I know he's healthy now, and he got very limited snaps in OTAs. He's going to have to have a great training camp to make it.
Adam Kaplan, they have their concerns. The podcast is out. Check it out at InsideTheBirds.com and wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget the YouTube channel. Just search Inside the Birds. Adam, thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you next week, pal.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. He'll be back for football at 4 on Tuesday here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. All right. This is Colin in Cape May Courthouse says, hey, Mike, happy hour Friday. I highly recommend Flounder Pounder from Slack Tide, a very light and refreshing lager, perfect for the heat. It's new, so I believe it's tap room only for now. You know what's funny? Colin, thank you for that recommendation. A very light, refreshing lager. So I got to go to the tap room, he's saying, down there at Slack Tide, which I have been trying to get down to. Like, I like to do the summer, little brewery tour. I like to do that during the summer. Now, last night we were going to do something, but got a little too late, and I talked about possibly Slack Tide last night. Ludlam, the new Ludlam's open, right?
Yep. It's open up there in Woodbine.
Have you been there yet?
Yes, I have.
You like it?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
I remember it was the bowling alley.
That's what I was going to say. For those who don't know, it used to be Mousetrap Bowling Alley for years. And now Ludlam took it over. And it's really cool because the area where the bowling alley used to be is actually where the brewing area is. And you can actually look in there and see all the tanks and everything. And then to the right. What's up?
The vats.
Vats, tanks. Same difference.
Well, just for the people out there.
You know, and then to the right of you, if you have
You got a slack-tie t-shirt on over there.
I do, actually. And then to the right of you at Ludlam is where you can order food on the one area, and the other area has the bar where you can either get your drinks or sit at the bar and watch the game.
All right, Colin and Cape May Courthouse got us started today with the Flounder Pounder. Give me a nice recommendation for a happy hour Friday, 609-403-0973. I got some recommendations for you guys, as always, on the happy hour Friday. I'm actually on my way home tonight. We're having the barbecue of the house. You coming? Tomorrow.
It depends on what time I get out of Seattle with Billy.
Well, the party doesn't start till 2. It goes all night.
All night?
All night.
You're just saying this is
got a DJ?
You got a DJ?
DJ's coming over.
What are you? You got a DJ coming too?
Yeah, DJ party. You got a party at my house. You ever been to a party at my house? We go all out.
Well, I've been to a party at your house, but I don't remember there ever being a DJ before.
We've been a DJ. We had a live band at my house one time.
I never was there for that.
No,
so
that was a good one. We had a live band. Well, it wasn't a band. It was like an acoustic guy. Came on the guitar.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, he played in the backyard.
Nice.
Yeah. But DJ. We're going DJ tomorrow. I'm hoping the DJ's listening right now because if he doesn't show up tomorrow, he's never getting my help from me again.
Wow. Yeah. Is that a promise?
Yeah. He owes me like 3 DJs at my house.
Oh.
So tomorrow's one of them.
Better put up or shut up, buddy.
So tomorrow the DJ will
this
be
better
there.
be the greatest DJ
Schweimer's coming.
Of all
He
time.
RSVP'd that he was coming.
Now, is he coming by himself or is he saying he's going to come with anybody?
Nope, said he's coming by himself. He RSVP'd. He was one of the first people that RSVP'd.
I'm just asking because I know he's had the doopy-doo recently. You know, they've been traveling around.
Hey, he was one of the first people that RSVP'd. If he didn't come, I'd be very disappointed.
You know, Billy was sending me texts like, I'm at the boardwalk with my daughter. Now I'm taking it. Like, Billy gave me his itinerary for the week.
Well, he RSVP'd that he was coming.
Wow.
Yep. Now, if you RSVP that you're coming and you don't show, what's the penalty?
There's got to be some penalty. Yeah, there's got to be, wow, that's a good question. I mean, do you penalize him by saying that the next time he asks you for help, do you not help him?
I don't know. It's got to be something, but he RSVP'd that he'd be in because you gotta buy the amount of food for the people who said they're coming.
Head count, yeah.
Yes. He said he was in.
Wow. He was the first person to RSVP.
One of the first. He wasn't the first, but he was
still,
one of the first.
Even if you were if you call 50 people and you're one of the first 5, that's still a big deal. Or a big deal.
Big deal. Yeah, Mike. Yep, Schwein's going to be there. Yeah, the party starts at 2. There's no end time.
Gotcha.
So the last person that can keep going.
Wow.
DJ.
Now is the DJ going to be there all night?
A lot of food.
DJ going to be there all night?
I don't know that we gave him an end time.
Oh, so it's open-ended.
Yep.
So basically he's there till you tell him to leave.
We'll see. Yeah, he's an Irish goodbyer. He'll just take off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One time, were you there the time we had the party down on the beach for my girlfriend's birthday and he said to put a hot dog on for him? So I put the hot dog on the grill.
Never get the hot dog.
And 8:00 at night, I took a picture of the hot dog. He said, yo, I want it burnt to a crisp. I like it. Just leave it on there. 8:00 at night, the hot dog was still on that grill. I took a picture. I sent it to you. I said, yo, your hot dog's still on the grill. He had the DJ equipment on the beach. He left it there.
I mean, come on.
We had to take it home for him.
That's no bueno.
He never returned.
That's a no bueno, man.
Exactly. So that's what, that's where our kids here. All right, Sports Bash Happy Hour Friday. What do you have it on this Happy Hour Friday? Let me know. Got some text messages to hit on. And, of course, Knicks Nuggets are coming up next here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We have the perfect...
Grand Canyon University's RN to BSN online degree program makes earning your bachelor's in nursing possible. Balance online coursework with local in-person clinicals to position yourself for potential leadership opportunities in the time you have from wherever you are, leaving room for what matters. Achieve your goals. with your personalized plan and team behind you. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Visit gcu.edu.
For sitting in traffic.
You come with me.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Happy Hour Friday, everybody, on the Sports Bash, 97.3 ESPN. Nick Earnshaw has Nick's Nuggets. They're brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's a Happy Hour Friday. Got some more Happy Hour Friday picks. Let me read off another one. Rob in Millville sitting by the pool having a cold Cape May Brewery tan lines. I don't know if I've ever had that one. I actually doled out a Cape May at my house last night. My girlfriend's father's in town. I said, yeah, I got a nice cold beer for you local. Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest is a good one. Tan lines.
It's not my style. That's what I say. I'm handing out the ones that aren't my style.
Yeah.
We have the fridge at my house that, there's one fridge of people who bring beer to my house.
Correct.
And then they leave it, goes in the one fridge. I grabbed from that fridge.
Right. You have, for those who don't know, Mike has two different, these little fridges. The one fridge is Mike's IPAs and the other fridge is the other beers.
Yeah. The Happy Hour Friday picks. I go get them, and then if I like them, they go in my fridge. If I don't like them, they go in the other fridge. And then when people come to my house, I give them out.
Right. Like usually if you invite me to your house, you always turn to me and be like, Josh, there's your fridge.
There's your fridge. You can pick anything you want out of that fridge, Nick Earnshaw. Nick's Nuggets are right now on a Happy Hour Friday here on the Sports Bash. What's up, Nick? It's a Happy Hour Friday to you.
What's going on, Mike? Nice to see you once again. Yeah, you gotta put all the leftover beverages. They gotta go in the garage fridge, right? That's gotta be outside. That's where the extra beers go. I mean, that's where the extra drinks have to go.
Yeah, well, I have the outdoor porch. So the porch has the two refrigerators. One is for me. The other is for the guest. So you sit outside on my porch and then you say, hey, I say, can I offer you a beer? Yeah, what do you got? Oh, that fridge over there. Anything you want in there.
That's perfect. Yeah. For me, it's the outside garage. That's where all the extra goes. And it might sit in there for about 2 years. Who knows? Who knows how long that'll sit in there.
Like Schwein came over my house for New Year's and he brought over like a 30-pack of something. They're all still sitting in there.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to help him out. I was sick as a dog that day on New Year's. I remember I was down for the count for like a week that day. Oh, it was brutal.
Unfortunately.
It was brutal. Yeah. So I have a request for you, Mike. So yesterday we talked about, I had some homework. I gotta watch, the movie we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah. I gotta postpone that. Heading to the game tonight. I'm heading down to the ballpark, Mike. I gotta postpone that to Monday. So I need an extension on my homework until Monday.
Wait. What'd you watch last night?
I watched the San Francisco Cardinals game of Rickwood. I watched that for the most part.
Me too.
And then I was pretty much out for the count. I was down. I was out.
All right. So you telling me now, you got a day game tomorrow, 4:00.
Yeah.
So you can watch it tomorrow night. And on Sunday, you got a morning game on Sunday. 11:30.
So the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So the rest of the day on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm a crammer. I like last minute. Last minute, I'll get it in. I'll watch it as I fall asleep Sunday night, and I'll report back to you Monday. That's how we'll go about it. But I had to tell you, I'm heading down to the ballpark tonight, so I need an extension on that homework for sure.
Okay. Well, I'll give you that extension. I'm nice today. I'm having the Happy Hour Friday vibes, all right?
All right, it's good. Yeah, it's perfect. All right, nugget number one. Speaking of heading down to the ballpark, tonight, Cole Hamels is retiring as a Philly. We talked about it in the update. The question of the day was, what's your favorite memory of Cole Hamels, the 10 years he was a Philly? Mine's easy, Mike. It's the Wrigley no-no. It's the last time he pitched. I think that was the best moment of his career. That was awesome. There's no better way to end your tenure with a team than to go out on a no-hitter. And then you remember Odubel Herrera, he misplayed the ball, nearly dropped it on the last play of the game. It was just totally storybook because you knew he was going to get traded by the deadline. That was his last start for the Phillies. There was no better way to go out for the three-time All-Star as a Philadelphia.
Well, it's tough to top that, but since you went with the no-hitter, that was 2015 against the Cubs. Yep. There's a lot here. I remember his first ever game. I do remember watching him pitch in his debut, but I gotta go game 1 against Tampa in the World Series.
Yeah.
I think that was his maybe most dominant. Now, he was the MVP of the NLCS, and he was the World Series MVP as well. So I would say his crowning achievement is the fact that he was the MVP of the World Series, and he was dominant in Game 1. And, by the way, in the Game 5 against Tampa Bay, too, he pitched the clincher, the rain game.
Yeah, the game that got suspended. We just kept waiting and waiting. He was fantastic at that. And look, he was a guy who won over 100 games here, 114 to be exact, with the Philadelphia Phillies in 10 seasons. Was a 3-time All-Star, 3.30 ERA. I feel like people kind of forget. Yeah, he won the World Series MVP. That was the big one. But he won back-to-back MVPs, the NLCS and the World Series. That's pretty difficult to do, to win them both as a pitcher.
Yeah, he in the game in the Rays series, he pitched 2 games in that series, 4 runs, 13 innings. He was awesome in both of those games. So yeah, I'm going to go Cole Hamels, Game 1 of the World Series against Tampa Bay.
I like it. Because, I mean, this guy was a Philadelphia Philly through and through, 40 years old tonight, going to get honored, retire as a Philly. And how about David Dahl, Mike? David Dahl giving up the number. 35. We're in 31 tonight. They have to do that, right?
Yeah, no, that's one of those things where the jersey is not retired, but there's got to be a level of player that gets it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, listen, David Dahl, came up, hit the home run, has kind of struggled since then. I don't know if he's the right guy to be wearing 35.
Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a journeyman. You don't give the 30, like if you're going to give 35, and I saw somebody tweet about the different guys who have wore 35 since it's not a long list, but there has been like 3 guys who have worn 35. You don't just give out 35. If you don't want to retire it, that's fine. But if you're giving 35 out, it's got to be a level of player that's like, hey, this guy's really good, and we're going to let him wear 35. Not David Dahl.
Yeah, it can't be David Dahl. I mean, he's just he should stay 31 the rest of the way. Just stay 31 the rest of the way. Leave 35 out of it. I think it should probably be retired at some point as well, as along with 26, 11. They got a few numbers they got to retire here, Mike, in the coming years. I mean, that just has to happen. I mean, they retired 34 for Roy Halladay. That number's gone. 35, I think definitely would be well deserving if they retired that for Hamels, for sure.
Yeah, no question. You're the MVP of the NLCS and the World Series in one of the team's 3 ever World Series. So yeah.
Pretty easy decision there. All right. Nugget number 2, staying with the Phillies. Mike, I don't know. Did you keep up on Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs? Johan Rojas had a big night last night. 4 for 4, home run, bunt, single, walk, stolen base, and that home run was a go-ahead bomb in the bottom of the 8th. I guess it was the bottom of the 8th.
Let me tell you something.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. At 6 o'clock this morning, I was watching the highlights of Johan Rojas' game last night, and the most impressive part of it was about 1:12 in the highlights, where he lays down an epic bunt and beats it out. I screenshot the bunt and sent it to someone on my team and said, this is what I'm looking for right here.
Wow. So you're using Johan Rojas, who's had trouble bunting in the majors, by the way, has had a lot of trouble bunting, has had missteps along the way. Perfect lay down the bunt last night. I did see that too. Absolutely fantastic. Now maybe you can get it right. Now he's like all the pressure's off him. He's not in the bigs. Maybe he can go down and figure things out. Work on the fundamentals of bunting, stealing, right? And get his confidence back. Had a lot of confidence last night. Hits a big home run. Not known for his power. Gets the bunt down. Something he's had trouble at the big league level doing. Walks. Was working counts, right? Like he was striking out early on in counts. Like he wasn't seeing a lot of pitches in the big leagues. He kind of went back to square one and was working on the fundamentals of his game. Stole a base last night. If he's able to continue to do that on a consistent basis, Mike, he might be able to get himself back up to the big leagues in a shorter amount of time than we expect.
Well, there was a lot of talk about what would happen if he gets set down to his psyche, and it looks like he's taking it the right way, although he did have the collision with the right fielder last night, and I don't know if that's on him or the right fielder, without really being there and kind of hearing it, but that's the center fielder's ball. If the center fielder gets there, right fielder, get out of the way. So I'm going to blame Cardenas on the right fielder on that. See, I even knew who the guy was, who had the bonehead play. I'm blaming Cardenas as the guy in right field because that's the center fielder's ball. But yeah, if he goes down there and just lets loose and starts having some fun and playing well, you might see him back with the Phillies sooner than later.
Yeah, it's something to keep your eye on because obviously the trade deadline's coming up. They have been we know they're interested in acquiring another outfielder, whether it's center field, left field. They're going to get another bat in the outfield. It's going to happen. I can't see it not happening. Whether it's a real big impact bat or not, they're gonna be active at the trade deadline. And Johan Rojas could be a part of those discussions, right? Like he could be on the move. That's something that's been brought to people's attention and has been floated out there, right? So if he continues to be really good at the AAA level, maybe you can flip him for a big time bat, right? Like that's something that you could keep your eye on too. Like maybe he comes up or you flip him and he's playing well at the AAA level, gets a change of scenery. He could then do it on another squad.
Yeah, he's definitely been added to the mix in terms of a potential guy that you could trade. So, yeah, keep that in mind. If teams say, you know what, we need a young center fielder, you're giving up on this guy, we're interested in him. But I think the Phillies want him to be a part of their plans.
I think they do too. I think they're going to try. I mean, they've given him every opportunity possible to win that center field job. Get sent down. They're going to need him to clear his head and get right. I think they do want him to be part of the long-term plans. Remember, he's 23 years old, but they also have Justin Crawford waiting in the wings too. It's another guy you can see in the next couple of years.
Rob Thompson said it. For us to be the best version of ourselves, we need him playing center field, bunting, getting on base, using his speed. So therefore, I think the Phillies organization and Rob Thompson want him here.
Yeah, I mean, in the 9-hole, you want to be able to flip that lineup over back to Schwarber, right? Like that's the whole goal. You want him to be getting on base, creating havoc on the base pass for that top of the lineup. When you're in the midst of the middle of a game, 5th, 6th inning, you flip it back over to Kyle Schwarber and the top of the lineup, drive him in. I mean, that's the goal here. He just hasn't been great at getting on base or he's getting picked off, right? Like he's been picked off multiple times this year. He's just got to work on the fundamentals. Looked much better last night, even with the collision.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it was a good positive first step for him to kind of, work his way back. And by the way, no Marsh tonight. You got Merrifield and Pache out there. So, the Phillies definitely still need some help in the outfield. And if it's not a trade, maybe it's bringing back Rojas.
Yeah, could be bringing back Rojas. We'll see what happens. We got like a month and a half still to go here with the trade deadline coming up, so a lot of time left. All right, nugget number 3. Got to switch gears, Mike. The NBA slop is upon us. All the rumors flying around. The 76ers starts with Paul George. Paul George is in control of free agency, essentially. And Shams report that yesterday the Sixers interest in PG is starting to wane and they're exploring other options. According to Shams, he was on Pat McAfee today talking about they've been in kind of trade discussions, right? They're looking around the trade market to see what other options are out there instead of just blindly handing Paul George a max contract. Jimmy Butler's name also has been floated out there that he's probably going to be traded from Miami. I feel like, Mike, there's a lot of posturing going on. A lot of slop that we get around this time as the NBA free agency and draft is upon us. But man, that was fast. It was like all of a sudden, boom, 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 all these reports are coming out yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this stuff. I mean, because the Paul George stuff is, the Sixers are waning their interest. And Paul George, he might opt into the deal and try to ask to be traded. This says to me, Paul George isn't all that thrilled about the options from the teams that have money out there. Hey, I don't want to go to Philadelphia. I don't want to go to Orlando. I don't want to go to Detroit. So what I'll do, and this just goes back to last year with James Harden. Why would you opt into the deal? Because you don't think you can get the money you're getting paid now on the market. So Paul George, the indication would be, I'm not getting $48 million if I hit free agency. So I'll opt in, get my $48 million, and then say, trade me. I think that is a clear sign that Paul George doesn't want to play in Philadelphia. Well, the Sixer side counters with, we're waning our interest on him anyway to see what else happens out there. Now, the other stuff, Zach LaVine, the Bulls yesterday, 15 trade offers. Well, the Sixers aren't interested in Zach LaVine. Okay, next. Brandon Ingram, what would that take? Jimmy Butler, what would that take? The other name, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, his name started to circulate. This is a whirlwind, man. It all starts next Sunday. A week from this Sunday, you'll start banging out all these crazy rumors and stuff that you're going to have to try to figure out what to decipher. But there's one thing that's clear. We talked about this earlier, that the Sixers are the biggest story of the offseason with their cap space and being a pseudo-title contender with cap space. They're the only team really that has the ability to make a big splash and is considered a top-tier team.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the other teams with some cap space, the one who is number one is the Detroit Pistons. They just fired Monty Williams. They're a train wreck in Detroit. So that's a team that doesn't really matter. They could give Tobias Harris $30 million for all I care. Go ahead, have fun. The Sixers control kind of everything here. They're the team that's in limbo. Like, yeah, they're a contender, but they haven't gotten past the second round. Embiid's been hurt, et cetera, et cetera. They're the team to watch. They're going to be at $61 million of cap. I think like after that, next team's like right under $40 million in cap space. So they're the team to watch, and they're going to be involved in everybody. OG Anunoby, another name that they've been linked to, right? Like, if you're a Sixers fan, do you want them to give all that money to OG Anunoby? I don't know if that's the route you want to go, because he's going to try and command a lot more money and try and get the Knicks to up their offer. So he's another name you got to watch out for, because remember, the Sixers had some interest before he was dealt to the New York Knicks last year. So that's another name to watch for. Maybe then they trade and go add some other pieces and go that route. So there's a bunch of different avenues Daryl Morey can go right here. I feel like there's something underlying here that we're not seeing and that Daryl Morey might be cooking up once the draft happens, because I think you're going to see a lot of movement during the draft. That is something to watch for. So there's going to be a lot of posturing, a lot of leaks, a lot of agents putting stuff out there.
It's already happening.
As well as teams. It's happening now. So and I think that's just going to continue over the course of the next week or so.
Definitely, it's already happening. The posturing's beginning. And by the way, the draft is on Wednesday night. That's the first night that you can start to see some crazy movement. We've already saw a trade. Caruso gets traded for Giddey, Oklahoma City and Chicago. But Wednesday night, the Sixers have the 16th pick. Don't be surprised if that's the first night that Daryl Morey makes a move.
Yeah, I would not be shocked if they move on from that 16th pick, right? Like, we talked about it yesterday. Like, that 16th pick, like, yeah, you can draft a nice young player, develop him. Sixers have a window right now. They got about a 2 to 3 year window with Embiid at the top level of play, right? Like, in his prime. With Max, he's starting to become his own star himself. So they have a little bit of a window here. They don't really want to draft a guy and develop him over the course of the next couple of years. They're seemingly want to go for it right now. And I think they move on from that pick. That's one of their assets they do have to get somebody who is established. Now, we talked about a name, Malik Monk. He gets big money from Sacramento yesterday. He's now off the board, Mike. He's one of the top guys in free agency. If you were looking to add some depth to your bench, to your roster, he's now off the board. So that's somebody we talked about, Sacramento. That's where he's staying. So there's a lot going on right here. And if you're Daryl Morey, there's a bunch of different avenues you could go down. The LaVine thing, I feel like that's going to be backup, plan like X at this point. Like, that is going to be way down the line, because remember, he's been hurt and his contract is ginormous. He's like right under $50 million. So he's going to eat up a ton of that cap space if you were to go trade for him. And remember, you don't have that many players on your roster as of right now. So the LaVine stuff, I wasn't really buying at first anyway. And then now it comes out, they were one of the teams that Bulls are just trying to send them to.
Yeah, I think the Bulls are just trying to, by the way, redo everything. I think they want to blow the thing up and start over. Hey, listen, I'll be anxiously awaiting Wednesday night, but something could happen beforehand. There's nothing to say Daryl Morey can't make a call this weekend and say, hey, do you want the 16th pick ahead of the draft on Wednesday night? So don't be surprised. They got multiple picks. They got all the cap space. And by the way, they only got 2 guys on their roster really signed. Embiid, and they don't even have 2. Maxey is technically not even signed. The entire rest of the roster are all free agents.
Yeah, it's all up for grabs right now. There's going to be a lot of reports going one way, the other way. What agent is connected with which insider? And I think you mentioned it earlier in the show. The Shams and the Woj thing is getting crazy. Like, it's a crazy kind of phenomenon that they go back and forth. Who's going to be the first one to get the news? Shams won this one. He got was he the one who got the JJ Redick stuff correct too, I believe.
Yeah.
So that dynamic's going to be hilarious over the next week.
Well, Shams, it feels like it's been going on the Pat McAfee show doing like victory laps like every day just to try to be like, taking a couple quick shots here. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you are you out of nuggets?
I'm out of nuggets.
All right.
Three pack on a Friday.
I got a nugget for you then. Here's the question.
All right.
So tomorrow we're having the barbecue at my house.
Ooh.
All right. It's a graduation party.
Okay.
All right. Schweim was invited. Okay, he's met my girlfriend's son. They've talked a bunch of times. He said, "Hey, your buddy Billy, I'd like him to come." So Schweim was invited. He RSVP'd that he's coming.
Okay.
Now Josh doesn't believe that Billy's coming. All right.
Okay, I'm following.
So what's the penalty if you RSVP that you're coming and then no show?
Oh, penalty. Oh man. Now, what if he all right, this is tough because I can't lie. I RSVP'd with you before and then I got sick.
That's different.
Was a valid excuse.
If you RSVP that you're coming and then say, "Hey, I'm sick, I'm not going to make it," you've alerted us. Josh is contending that Billy is not intending to go, and then I'm assuming that Billy either forgot and planned other things because the invitation went out so long ago that he then forget about it.
Yeah. Oh, this is a big one. I don't know. What should the punishment be? This is a big punishment. This is a big deal. I don't know.
It's a big deal.
This is I don't know what you're putting me on the spot here. I got to do something on Saturday.
Now
and
let me
Sunday.
ask you, do you think Billy will show or be a no-show?
I think he'll show.
Yeah,
but
you
he'll
do?
show late.
To 2:00. The party's at 2.
He'll show late. He'll show at 4. How about that?
4 o'clock for a 2:00 party?
Yeah.
You showed up 3 hours late?
I could see him showing up late. Because if he forgot, if it went out of his head, I could see him showing up late.
No, I don't know about
I think
that.
he's got to buy you. If he doesn't show up, he's got to buy you and your girlfriend and family dinner. He's got to do that. I think that would be a valid punishment if he doesn't show.
All right.
I think that's valid. He's got to buy you at least some type of dinner, pizza party, whatever.
Well, are you producing the show tomorrow?
I'm producing the show tomorrow, and I'll be in on Sunday. I got double duty this
Are
week.
you going to validate whether he's going to be showing up or not?
I will. I will double check with him. I'll call him after the show. I'll call him on the way to the ballpark tonight to make sure if he's showing up.
Well, I almost feel like he might be listening or somebody might have told him, but I don't want him to be cued off that that he RSVP that he's in and then Josh doesn't think that he's showing. Now Josh has reasons why he doesn't think he's showing.
Yeah, you can't let it slide. If he doesn't show, and he was one of the first ones, if he's like top 5 in RSVP, he's going to owe you dinner. He's going to owe you dinner if he doesn't show up. Because you're buying food, you got to account for him. I mean, that's a big deal right there.
Yeah.
So
listen.
I think he buys you and your family dinner.
When I said to Josh, because I asked Josh what time he was planning on coming, and he kind of gave me a look like I wasn't planning on coming at all. That was Josh's reaction. And his reasoning was, basically, I said, well, Billy's coming, and his look was as if, no, he's not coming.
Well, I'll take his spot. How about that? I'll take his spot.
Yeah, you can come.
I'll take his spot.
You're welcome to come.
All right, sounds good.
But that's what I said to Josh. Hey, what time you planning on coming tomorrow? And Josh's look was, I'm not really planning on coming. Now I said, well, Billy's coming. And then his look was, I don't think Billy's coming.
Oh,
as if they have something planned together that's better than my party.
Yeah, they're going to go off and veer off and do something on their own. How about that?
That's what it feels. Well, you put Josh in Sea Isle. He's like the mayor down there. So they're going to Sea Isle tomorrow. So he's probably telling Billy, hey, come to this place. You come to this place. You come to this place. Everybody knows me there.
I know. And then they don't even include me in that. So I'm out.
I know. I heard the promo and it said, hey, it's the locker room with me and Josh in it. I said, what happened to Nicky Earnshaw? He didn't get even asked.
Yeah. I'm back at the studio. So I'll be in on Sunday. I'll rip
Carlin got bumped?
Yeah, Carlin got bumped on for Saturday. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's Mr. Everything, Billy, and then me back at the studio.
Unbelievable. So what is your bet? Will Billy be a no show or will he come through?
I'm going to say he comes through.
But you think he's going to be late?
I think he's going to be late.
Well, fashionably late is one thing. 3 hours late, I mean, even the party could be over by that time. You can't show up at 5 o'clock for a party that starts at 2.
Listen, he might show up late. I mean, we're talking about the Schwein.
Okay.
Here.
I think
talking about the Schwein.
My prediction is the Schwein comes through and he's there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You think he's on time?
Listen, I got to give Schwein some credit. We went to the airport. We went to London, and he drove me and my girlfriend to the airport, and he picked us up.
It's a good guy. It's a good guy. I did hear about that. That's fantastic. Listen, the Schweiner's the man. I think he'll show up. He might be late, though. I wouldn't be shocked if he's late tomorrow. I know he's got a couple of things going on, so it wouldn't shock me if he's a little late.
Yep. All right. Well, the DJ just texted me. Yep.
What do you have to say?
Because I was worried about the DJ showing up.
Oh. See, I get like that, too. I get like that, too. Are you going to be there? I got to know. I got to know. I'm on top of that type of stuff, Mike. I'm a worrier. too. I worry.
All right. Well, those are the Nuggets today.
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you next week. Or maybe probably tomorrow. I'll talk to you tomorrow. But we'll talk on the Nuggets next week.
All right, man. See you tomorrow. All right, that's Nick Earnshaw, Knicks Nuggets here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Live video on the X platform at 973 ESPN. Use the hashtag SBLive. Nick Earnshaw, he's producing the locker room tomorrow. You can listen to that. 10. Where are you guys at tomorrow?
We will be at the Make the World Better Foundation's pickleball tournament in Seattle.
I've never played pickleball. I've never even seen a game before.
Never even seen a game?
I've never seen two people even hit a ball back and forth to each other.
You have any interest?
Yeah, I'm not against it. I've never run into a game. Like, I've never seen one. I know it's a craze. It's all the craze.
Oh, it's very popular.
All right, when we come back, Bob Wankel, RedOctoberPhilly.com. We'll get his thoughts on Cole Hamels' impact on the Phillies. It's all coming up next.
This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
All right, 5 o'clock on a Happy Hour Friday. A lot of Happy Hour Friday picks are coming in. This one is from Gordon in Cape May Courthouse. Says, I'm originally from Easton, PA. Weyerbacher Brewery has a beer called Dallas Sucks. It's a golden ale. It's seasonal, but he had one left. He says they're coming out with a Larry Holmes beer. A golden ale is not up my alley, but a Dallas Sucks beer sounds pretty good. I could go for that. Keep them coming, 609-403-0973. Happy Hour Friday. Now, Bob Wankel's generally on Friday, but he doesn't generally get the Happy Hour Friday picks. They start coming in after 5, the selections on the Happy Hour Friday. The Dallas Sucks beer, Bob Wankel. How about that, buddy?
I've had that, actually, and I feel like a little bit of a fraud here. For the first time last night, I did a Mud Hen Wildwood Haze.
Ooh.
Down your area there. So, pretty good.
Yeah.
Solid.
I like the Wildwood Haze. It's of their beers there, it's not my favorite one, but I've had it. It's kind of like the safe one. I like the Rambler to Miami. They've got there's another one called Gander that, one of the guys from down there has brought to me on 2 different occasions to live shows. It's called Gander, but they only make it certain times of the year.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I had 3 of them because last night, off night, no Phillies. The wife took over the TV. We had Bridgerton on, and I had to do 3 IPAs to kind of make it work for me.
Did Kincaid allow this?
He allowed it, yeah. He had to sign off.
I had a little 608 last night from Hidden Sands over there in EHT. So Happy Hour Friday to the people with the 608. That's their double IPA. All right, since we got the Happy Hour Friday going, let's start off with Cole Hamels. Let's get off this team a little bit and talk about the impact that he had on that team, because quite frankly, this team, no team has been able to do what Cole Hamels has done. And some people would say, is this team better than the Cole Hamels team? The interesting thing about the Cole Hamels team was the team that won the World Series may not have been their best team during the Hamels era.
I think it's very fair to say that. I mean, he really was, there's so many different moments during that 08 run. You know, the Victorino Grand Slam against Sabathia and the Chase Utley play in the World Series, the deke and the throw to home. Like, you can just rattle off 10 different moments that entire run, the Stairs homer. But it all came down to Cole Hamels. I mean, he was automatic in that 08 run, and there's no shot of that team winning a World Series without him. I mean, he was money. And I know the following year, 09, he struggled. He wasn't very good in the playoffs. There was a little bit of controversy around his comments. I just can't wait for the season to be over. But when you kind of zoom out and look at what he did overall, he was money for this team, and he had a lot of big time playoff moments as well.
Yeah, and you know, people forget he won the NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP. But you know, I don't know, like, that team had like that number one ace, and he stepped up into that role. You look at this year's team here, it could be any number of guys who step into that role.
For sure. I mean, this Phillies pitching staff this season is significantly better than the one that they had in 2008. There's no question about it. You know, really, a lot of things happened this week against the Padres, and I was talking to Anthony Sanfilippo about this earlier. I said to him, I'm like, you know, the thing that kind of got overlooked, and I think was probably the single biggest development this past week, is that Christopher Sanchez was bad against Boston, right? And there's this idea that, like, we're all waiting for the clock to strike midnight with him, that he's not quite this good, or, you know, it's momentum based. And what happens when you break his momentum and he has a poor start? Well, he comes back and he goes 7 innings, gives up 1 run. He walks 1 batter. He was phenomenal. And I think that that's really encouraging, because one of the things you want to see is that sense of resilience and that ability to kind of overcome a shaky outing. And now he's checked that box. So, I mean, man, like, they really are 4 deep. Now, that brings you into tonight. Some question marks about this guy, but other than that, it's a damn good starting rotation.
Yeah, I know, and Taijuan Walker is the guy who's pitching tonight for the Phillies, and of course they're taking on Arizona. So with Arizona coming to town, let's get into that. This Phillies team, we've all seen the stat: 25 out of the last 28 at home. They're way out in front, although that lead is shrinking a little bit in National League East. You've got a very mediocre Diamondbacks team coming in right now. You could win 100, 105 games, maybe even more. You lost to an 84-win team, 2 of which were at home. So it is all of these things. Are they something that the Phillies fans are just thinking about, do you think, with Arizona coming in? Made me think about it. Or are they just enjoying this season and all the ancillary things are just kind of out of sight, out of mind?
I think that there's always going to be some level of anxiety as you take in the Phillies, right? Like, the expectation is to win a World Series. It certainly has lined up for them this way. Everyone got burned last year. They felt like it was going to be a championship season. So there's always going to be this sense of, I know they're playing well. I know they have a lead. They may win 104 games, but show me in October. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy the present. I don't think that people are consuming the Phillies like they did the Sixers, where it's like, talk to me in the second round. I don't think that we're there with this team, but I do think that there is a clear sense that this is all about October, and this team should take care of business, and it has.
That was the next thing is, how many years do they get to not win? Like, if they win 110 games this year and don't win again, do we get to the point where the fans become, well, I'll only believe if you win the World Series? Like, that's where I'm like, it seems that the fans are being rational with this team, which is refreshing. It's like, hey, they're having fun and they're letting the season play out. I was compared it to like a wrestling fan who's like suspending disbelief here. They're saying, you know what? I know it's scripted, but I'm going to have fun anyway. I don't care that I might know the result, but how long does this team have the fans in the palm of their hand? Because this goes back to, you and I talk about this a lot. It's a June game, and you're looking at the highlights, and the whole place is going crazy. Castellanos hits the double, and the place is going like they just had a walk-off in October.
Yeah, and I can't speak to other teams in this city, but I will just say, like, this particular group of players is extraordinarily marketable Some are very relatable, not all of them, but some of them are very relatable, and they're all pretty likable. And I would just tell you personal experience being down there. I've covered 6 different Phillies teams now. I've not felt that way about every Phillies clubhouse, frankly, and I've certainly not felt that way about every Phillies player. But by and large, these guys are a really likable group, and I think they're easy to root for. So not only are they good, and it's hard to be skeptical with the Phillies, because even if you don't like something or somebody struggles, you say, oh, see? Well, like 2 days later, they're back off the mat and they're getting it done. So even as much as we talk about Castellanos, right? Like, okay, he was terrible against Boston and Baltimore, and then he comes out and he's lights out against the Padres. Like, nobody on this team lets you be down on them for that long, except for maybe the starting pitcher tonight.
You mentioned Castellanos, obviously, not having a great year, but he had the double the other night. He's a quirky, odd guy, obviously. Like, I look at, like, I say, like, Brandon Marsh. He's like the kind of guy, like, you almost can't trade Marsh because he seems so popular and such a big piece of that. Is Castellanos, like, if they did something there, is he that kind of guy that has, like, what is his relationship or relatability in that locker room? As you said, this is a really cool room, but he just seems like such an odd dude.
Yeah, like, so when you think about these guys, you see Marsh, you see Stubbs, you see they're easy, they're fun, they're kind of bubbly. Nick Castellanos isn't exactly that. But I think he commands a lot of respect from his teammates. I think he's a very good teammate. I think that he's somebody that certainly has a lot of clout in that clubhouse. And if they were to trade him, look, it's business. Yeah. You know, I think at the end of the day, you kind of say, like, is this going to help us achieve what we want to do? If you were to remove him from the equation, which I don't think they will, by the way. But if they were to do that, I think you would get over it. But, I think that he's a lot more a part of that clubhouse than maybe some of the fans or outside people would realize. I think it's more than fair to say that.
Yeah. He is, when you're taking a look at how to improve this team, and, there's no Marsh in the lineup tonight, as you see the lineup there up on the screen, no Stott in the lineup tonight. How much more difficult is it going to continue to be for Rob Thomson to get Sosa and Merrifield? Like, they seem like they're kind of duplicitous type of players now that Sosa's not playing shortstop. And then ultimately, if one of those guys are the guys that's the odd man out, is that what it might come down to?
Maybe. I mean, look, Bryson Stott, we've talked about him. He has struggled lately. Like, he's
actually hitting better against lefties than he is righties. I saw that today, which I was surprised by.
The only issue is that this game specifically tonight, Jordan Montgomery has been dreadful against right-handed hitting. I mean, he has been terrible. So this is a really favorable matchup tonight for this Phillies offense. We'll see if they can cash in on it. I don't think that Bryson Stott is going to lose consistent playing time or consistent at-bats to Edmundo Sosa, but Bryson Stott has to be better than he's been. And there could come a time later this season where if he is not able to improve and can't really get things going, that maybe you start to see a little bit more Sosa at second base against left-handed pitching. I mean, I think that is a possibility, though the Phillies aren't there right now. As far as Whit Merrifield goes, I think it's just honestly, I think the clock's ticking here. They want the versatility. They want him to be productive. But if he can't get it going, is there a post-trade deadline world where he's not part of this mix? I think that there's a possibility of that. I'm not saying it's what's going to happen, but at some point, like veteran leadership and versatility, that all sounds great, but you've got to hit.
Yeah.
And he's shown some signs of life here lately, but he's got to keep it up. He's got to do more than this.
Well, and then you have the Clemens factor too. I mean, when Clemens comes back, is he automatically back? Probably not. But, we were looking at the difference between Sosa and Merrifield. Sosa's played 4 more games than Merrifield, but the numbers are just saying, how can I play Merrifield? And I would have to imagine when they're trying to find ways to get somebody in the lineup, how do you justify putting Merrifield in the lineup over Sosa? Now, I guess, is Sosa going to start getting some left field reps? Do you see that happening sooner than later?
Well, he was running around out there earlier this week before the game. He was taking some fly balls and batting practice. And if you said over-under 1/2 inning for Edmundo Sosa out in left field, I would take the over. Like, I think he'll find himself out there maybe at some point. I just don't think that's where they're headed. I don't think that all of a sudden you're going to see him play as a platoon piece or with any regularity against left-handed pitching in left field. I don't see it.
No. And because Marsh is not playing today. Pache, I guess, is in center. Merrifield's in left, but everybody's buzzing about Rojas last night. Is he on the fast track back if he keeps this going? If he shows that he can hit.
One game.
I'm saying if he shows that he can do these things, he lets the bunt down, he goes 4 for 4, he hits the home run. He did collide with the right fielder last night, although I would say that's probably more the right fielder's fault than the center fielder. That's the center fielder's ball if he can get to it. However, is there a world where the Phillies want Rojas back up here?
They say they do. They've said, Sam Folda said that the best version of the Phillies is with Johan Rojas on the roster performing the way that we expect him to. So look, this has been an interesting week. He goes down. He's had some success. You saw the play on Wednesday, the liner out to center field. Brandon Marsh can't get to it. People are all right away saying, hey, Johan Rojas would have caught that ball. He needs to be better. I mean, straight up. We talked about it the other day. He had one extra base hit since the beginning of May while he was up here. He had not played consistently above average defense, so you weren't even getting that benefit. He hasn't bunted with any success. He is not a great base runner. He can steal bases for you, but he's not a real, the instincts have not been there. And if he has them, he hasn't consistently displayed them. He's got to get better. Can he develop and do that in the next month? Sure. Is there a reality where somebody gets hurt and that changes the math and the equation? Sure. But he needs to go down there for some amount of time and show with some degree of consistency.
Yeah.
And that is the key in all of this. Consistency that he's making these improvements.
No doubt. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see, if 3 weeks from now he's churning out and he's, doing something, if they have to make another decision, coupled with, Bob, what we're seeing from Marsh in center field. Now, is this just a byproduct of, hey, these are some random situations, or are they realizing that, man, he can't be our center fielder on a World Series team?
I think that the Phillies have shown us in the past that by what they've done, that they don't think that Brandon Marsh is an everyday plus defensive center fielder. He's competent. He can go out there and do it.
Yeah.
But he's not.
I'm not even sure they think he's an everyday player.
No, I don't think they think he's an everyday player from a platoon, an offensive platoon standpoint. But I think that they would love to have his defense in left field. That's where he's best suited to play. Be a very good defensive left fielder. In center field, he's average, passable. I think it's very clear that this team knows that it is deficient in its outfield. And what will be available to them to try to rectify that, we will see. If they can't get the guy, if they can't get a true difference maker, does Johan Rojas come back up and play some meaningful role? Sure. He might come back up because they want to make him more marketable in a trade leading up to the deadline. So maybe you see him around the All-Star break. There's so many different ways that this could go. But I think that the Phillies realize what we have right now is not good enough. It's going to have to be better.
Yeah, Marsh is hitting 128 against lefties, by the way. And remember,
you can't play him against left-handed pitching. You just can't.
Yeah, and last year in the playoffs against the Marlins, people forget Christian Pache started the 2 games in the playoffs against the Marlins when they threw left-handed pitching. So, yeah, it's pretty clear of what they think. Does, in your mind, Phillies' first playoff game is Rojas playing center field?
No.
Somebody not here?
It'll either be, I think it's somebody that's not here. My feeling is we'll get there. We talked about this Monday. I don't know what the trade market's going to look like. Every team in the National League besides Colorado and Florida are in it, or Miami are in it right now. So it's just hard to know what the deadline will look like a month from now, who's in, who's out. But I think that the Phillies are going to attempt to go out and get a difference-making center fielder.
Bob Wankel, RedOctoberPhilly.com, Crossing Broad Phillies, and the Arizona Diamondbacks are back in town. Do you think the fans will remember them from the last 2 times they saw? Are they going to be juiced up for this rematch? Is this one of those? We were talking about, I think it was Monday or earlier in the week, about the Braves are, I think, the obvious Phillies rival. There doesn't seem to be that other team.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the fans will probably be a little bit more let's get these guys than the Phillies will be. The Phillies aren't going to prove anything by sweeping the Diamondbacks this weekend. I'm sure that they certainly think about it. I'm sure they want to play well this weekend, but I think if there's any additional juice for this specific matchup, it is very little.
Yeah, but on the surface, though, it's Atlanta would be number 1. in terms of the fans like juice. I don't know that there is a number 2.
It might be the Mets.
Maybe.
Still, it's probably the Mets when the Mets are good. And listen, the Mets have played really well. That win that the Mets got in London over the Phillies, they had been playing a little bit better leading into.
They're up 11-1 right now, by the way.
That win that they got against the Phillies, I mean, they have been red hot since they've come back to the United States. And I mean, they had Imanaga today, the Cubs did, who's been fantastic, and they just blitzed him. I mean, 10 earned in 3 innings today against him.
My fantasy team is showing. Imanaga is on that team. Bad move by me. All right, Bob Wankel, RedOctoberPhilly.com, Crossing Broad, Phillies, Diamondbacks. It was that a pineapple shirt you've got going there?
Yeah, which, by the way, I've heard that this means something. I heard that this is like it's got some like secret meaning, the pineapple thing, which I did not know at the time I purchased this shirt. So there's people out there listening to this right now going like, aha. I heard there's it's like something to do with swingers or something like that. So
all right. Are you down the shore?
No, man, I gotta tell you, I just was trying to be festive. It's 97 degrees outside. I was trying to be like seasonally festive, but I got to take this thing off. I was at a doctor's appointment earlier today. And
you walked into the doctor's office with the pineapple shirt on.
The receptionist at the office was like, "Oh, interesting shirt." I'm like, "Oh, you heard about this too, huh?"
All right. Well, we'll catch up with you, Bob.
All right, man.
Bob Wankel, check him out over at RedOctoberPhilly.com. Get the newsletter, and of course here on the Sports Bash. He'll be back Monday to recap the weekend. I did not know the pineapple shirt. Did you know that, Josh? Are you hip to the pineapple shirt and the meaning behind the pineapple shirt?
Let me put it this way: the meaning that I heard is not suitable for this radio program.
Okay. Well, he indicated that it,
That's the one I've heard. I don't know if it's the same one he heard. So, yeah, I saw a little, what do they call them? Instagram reels online about this.
Yeah, it says here on the,
where'd you go to Urban Dictionary?
No, I just put in pineapple shirt meaning. It is, it means that they're looking for a partner to swap or a swinger party. Is that what you've heard, or is it a little even more than that?
I heard a little more than that.
More risque, huh?
I saw an Instagram feed that basically suggested that if you wear a pineapple shirt and you're drinking pineapple juice, you're putting certain information out there very explicitly.
Okay. Well, it says that an upside-down pineapple can entice couples to join for some adult fun.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Bob, good shirt. Stay away from my house, all right?
Yeah, someone sent me that reel a while ago because, as you know, Mike, I have a very interesting dietary habits, and one of them is eating pineapple very often. So someone sent it to me, and they said, maybe you need to stop eating so much pineapple, Josh.
Gotcha.
And I was like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, watch this video. And I was like, All
right. Well, people watching on the X platform saw the pineapple shirt. Is that a pineapple on your shirt over there?
That's just the symbol for...
it's a hop.
Yeah, it's a hop. It's a slack-tied symbol hop.
Gotcha. All right, we'll come back with tonight's Big Three on this Happy Hour Friday on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. The 97.3 ESPN free mobile app streaming live on the X platform at 97.3 ESPN.
It's with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
5:28, Happy Hour Friday, everybody. What's going on? Hopefully you're enjoying the Happy Hour Friday. 609-403-0973. Jordan Montgomery, 5-4 with a 5.68 ERA up against Taijuan Walker, who's 3-2 with a 5.33 ERA. Both pitchers kind of struggling through the year, although a lot of Phillies fans wanted Jordan Montgomery, right? Remember that?
They did, yes. A lot of fans were like, this guy helped the team win a World Series. Bring him in.
One thing you might want is a new Acura 2024, and if you have a written estimate from another Acura dealer in the area or outside the area or wherever you can get an estimate, my friend Rocco at Key Acura of Atlantic City will beat that price by $500 and give you an additional $500 on your trade. Now through June 30th, get a 36-month lease on a 2024 Integra for $299 a month with $49.95 down. That's everything, tax, tags, fees, dock fees, you name it. You give them that $49.95, that's your payment. $299 a month. Key Acura, Tilton Road in EHT, your small but friendly dealer. See dealer for details. We have today's edition of The Big Three.
Mike, I want to start with the item that has taken over a lot of the media today, but in our area, we don't necessarily want to hear about it, which is the Boston Celtics championship parade is today.
You know, I have no interest in going to a championship parade. I didn't go to the Eagles. I didn't go to the Phillies. I just don't have interest in it.
Well, there's a lot of media coverage, at least, so you didn't have to if you were a Celtics fan go. But I want to ask you about this comment that Jason Tatum made because he threw a little shade at the Miami Heat, Mike.
Oh.
During the parade
I heard Joel Embiid, by the way, he's made, not himself, but on a sign, made an appearance at the Celtics.
I saw that, yeah.
Somebody, who was it, has more rings than Embiid?
Yeah. Tatum.
No, it wasn't Tatum. It was like a scrub player, but they're like, oh, so-and-so has more rings than Embiid.
Well, Tatum, speaking of him, was asked a question about their trip to Miami after the championship celebration, and he used the opportunity to, let's say, make fun or poke at the Miami Heat team.
And you guys jumped on a flight to Miami right off the next day?
A couple hours after, actually.
You guys been on a lot of trips to Miami, a lot of hard-fought trips to Miami. Was this one a little sweeter taking that trip down?
They always easy.
Oh.
Now, remember the Miami Heat a couple years ago beat the Celtics in the conference finals. The conference finals, they had a strong lead. They should have won that series. This year they beat the Miami Heat. No Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that's weak sauce, though.
Is Tatum a little too, inebriated in answering that question?
Yeah, well, they lost. You know, if Jimmy Butler's there, you can't make. If he beat Jimmy Butler, then you can make that comment. By the way, the sign was Deuce has more rings than Embiid. Deuce McBride.
Gotcha.
Yeah, WVU boy.
WVU, yeah.
Yeah, that was the sign that I saw that stood out today. It was Deuce has more rings than McBride. I mean, than Embiid.
Well, back to Tatum. Tatum has actually has not beaten Jimmy Butler the last couple times they faced each other postseason, but he's real conveniently throwing some shade at the Miami Heat.
Yeah, kind of weak sauce. I mean, because you beat the Heat without Butler, that's like...
By the way, the Heat beat them one game without Jimmy Butler. Imagine if they would have had Jimmy.
The Celtics conveniently had a lapse in every game, but they weren't losing. I don't think they were going to lose that series to the Heat, even if Butler played in the series. But then you could say, all right, we beat them.
I mean, the Pacers shot themselves in the foot twice and helped the Celtics get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody thought that Pacers team was a legitimate...
No, but you thought it might be a more competitive series if they might not have shot themselves in the foot twice.
Maybe. I don't know about that. I never thought that the Pacers were a real threat. Oh. This East this year, as Embiid said, was very watered down, a lot of injuries. Right. It was just it wasn't a great East this year.
Well,
but Embiid has to now back that up. You can't say that.
That's true.
And come up small.
That's very true. Well, Tatum, for whatever reason, thinks today was a good opportunity to throw some unnecessary shade at the Miami Heat.
Well, guess what?
Jimmy Butler's taking a personal offense.
He earned it. No, Jimmy Butler, will he even be in Miami next year?
Well, it's a good question. It's another part of the conversation because I see there's a lot of rumors that they might get rid of him now.
Yeah, I saw Howard Beck, longtime NBA writer for The Ringer.
Right.
He is kind of putting out there that it's not if, it's when Jimmy Butler will be traded.
You buy into that?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. He's 35. A lot of wear and tear on the tires. So I would not be surprised if Jimmy Butler got traded.
Mike, my second story for you, I'm loving this story. Probably maybe a little more than you do. But I love the inner workings of how things happen when it comes to the sports world. So today, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly has signed legislation that takes direct aim at the Kansas City Chiefs and Kansas City Royals. So for those who don't know, the Chiefs and Royals stadiums are in the Missouri side of Kansas City, not in the Kansas side. But Kansas just passed a legislation that would guarantee them at minimum up to 70% of stadium fees and building costs covered by the state of Kansas if they just move across the border those stadiums and put them in Kansas. Meanwhile, Missouri, Mike, has still not even passed any legislation about helping them build new stadiums. This measure could very well get the Chiefs and Royals to leave Missouri and go to Kansas.
It would be like the Giants and Jets playing in Jersey, essentially.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, what those don't know is the reason why this legislation passed so quickly is because Kansas wants that revenue money that they would get from these stadiums. Remember, if the stadiums are in Kansas, all the taxes paid would go to Kansas instead of Missouri, and there's a long-standing rivalry between the states of Kansas and Missouri that goes back to 1858. They had a border war back then, and since then, there has always been a rivalry to which the officials in Kansas, like the governor, Kelly, said, we believe that teams that have the name Kansas in them belong in Kansas and not Missouri.
Well, Kansas City's an actual spot.
Mm-hmm. But it's
in Missouri.
But it's split between two states as a city. It's kind of like St. Louis is part in Missouri, part in Illinois. Kansas City is part in Kansas, part in Missouri. They want them to move to the other side of the border.
My buddy lives in Kansas City. I'll have to get more details on this.
I think this story's fascinating.
I know another guy who lives in St. Louis, but
yeah,
they're not a part of this, are they?
No, but the point is that we could very well see, 70% is a lot at minimum. They're promising a minimum, Mike, 70% coverage of costs of everything.
Well, look, everybody, the whole thing with the Chicago Bears looking to get out of Chicago to go to the suburbs. Everybody's trying to get out to get like tax breaks and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that professional teams are trying to do is own more than just the stadium. The Braves have kind of started this with like they own the stadium and it's like 45 minutes outside of Atlanta and they own everything around it. The hotels, the entertainment. They want them to be entertainment hubs that are more than just going to the ballpark. So that's what the next step of stadiums are.
By the way, for anybody who might wondering how big of a deal this is, apparently the state of Missouri generates about 40% of their tax revenue just from the Royals and Chiefs being in that state. So
it's professional sports are big business, man.
Big business. Speaking of big business, Mike, my third story I have for you. So I was watching Sean McDonough. He was a guest on another morning show this morning, and he talked about, so I didn't realize how big a deal this is. So part of the reason why the Edmonton Oilers versus Florida Panthers Game 6 is tonight is because Snoop Dogg had a concert in Edmonton last night. Apparently, the Oilers were told they were not allowed to practice in their own arena last night, or yesterday, I should say, because Snoop Dogg had to get fully ready for his concert. In fact, the whole media section where the media covers the games got turned into a VIP restaurant for the concert. And Sean McDonough went and told the show host this morning that he's been dealing with a little upper respiratory infection, and he's a little concerned there might be some residual from Snoop Dogg afterward. The Oilers had to practice at their backup arena downtown, the regional center that has a hockey rink, in order to have a practice yesterday.
It's all right. It's like the Flyers practice at the
skate center.
Yeah, the skate zone.
Yeah, but
just get some ice down.
Your thoughts on Snoop Dogg kicking the Stanley Cup out for it?
Well, this isn't the first time these things have happened where you book these things in advance and then a team makes a run that you don't anticipate and all like heck breaks loose.
Right. Like
the one time I remember something getting really affected by it was when the WWE was supposed to be in like Denver one time and the Nuggets made it and the WWE got kicked out of there and it was supposed to be in Denver at the Pepsi Center. They had to go to Staples, and they did a whole show based on the fact they got kicked out because the Nuggets made it. I'm pretty sure it was the Nuggets. It may have been the Avalanche. I think it was the Nuggets, though, that made it unanticipated, where a date was scheduled like that far out.
The one that they mentioned this morning was apparently the Penguins Capitals Eastern Conference Finals years ago got kicked out for a day because Yanni had a sold-out concert in Pittsburgh.
Can't mess with Yanni.
Can't mess with Yanni. Apparently can't mess with Snoop Dogg.
No, there's no way.
Can't mess with
and
Snoop.
You should probably, as McDonough hinted at, the residuals, you almost need 2 days after Snoop Dogg.
Right. Yeah, but McDonough says he's going to power through tonight.
I thought that Snoop Dogg gave up the...
Oh, no, he's back.
Oh, is he back?
He's changed his name 20 times.
Didn't he give it up, though?
He gave it up for a minute, yeah. Okay. He went through like this Zen period where like he was, what was he, King Dog or King Lion?
I didn't know he changed his name. I only know him as Snoop Dogg.
Let me pull it up. I think he's changed his name 3 times at this point.
Yeah, that was it. That's not something I was aware of. I only know him as Snoop Dogg. I don't know him as any of his other. Oh, Calvin Brodus is his real name. I do know that, but I didn't know he had like multiple monikers.
So after we went from Snoop Dogg to Snoop Lion, then he became Snoopzilla, and now he's back to Snoop Dogg, according to Entertainment Tonight. I'm reading from their article here.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, he converted to Rastafari at one point, and that's when he gave up the good stuff.
Gotcha.
He got religion. He believed it was reincarnated. Released a reggae album under the Snoop Lion moniker back in 2012.
Did you hear what Jason Kelce said on the New Heights this week? I thought you'd be all over this. I thought for sure that was going to be a story.
So honestly, I'm only halfway through the pod, so I'm kind of
Well, he kind of took a shot at today's country music.
Oh.
Yeah, he thinks it's horse bleep, he says.
I can see that.
Yeah, he was all over.
Kelce's a bit of a get off my lawner. So.
Yeah, he said today's country music is horse bleep. He said it's terrible. And I read the quotes from it. He was pretty insistent that. So is he not at the Barefoot Country Music Festival this weekend?
I'm assuming not. Then I will say, I'm at the part in the pod, this week's pod, where Kelce is arguing with his brother that he thinks he could still do gassers, even though he
looks like he's in some pretty good shape.
He says he's down to almost 265 pounds.
I would say he looks like he's cut weight. Kelce looks like he's cut weight.
Yeah, Jason has said numerous times on the podcast his goal is to be almost 100 pounds less than his playing.
A lot of those offensive linemen do get there.
Yeah, so because he said he used to play at around 310. So
Who?
Jason.
Kelce? Wow.
He said
he never looked that big. He was always like an undersized guy.
Yeah, well, he said he tried to bulk up to about 310 by the time football season started. But he said he wants to get close to 210 to be like his life weight. To which Travis said, good luck.
I think he'll get there.
Think he'll get there?
Yeah. Yep. He already looks like he's cut weight.
Well, he's down to 265.
Yep.
He said he lost about 20 pounds right before the WWE appearance at WrestleMania. And so he's already down over 30 pounds at this point. So he's doing the steps.
By the way, did you see the Lehigh Valley lineup tonight?
No, I didn't.
Cody Clements, Buddy Kennedy, Weston Wilson, Derek Hall. So you got a nice foursome right there. Scott Kingery, by the way, is playing
Kingery's having a good
tonight.
year in the minors, actually.
Lehigh. No, is Rojas? He's at Lehigh, right?
I thought he was.
Is he not in the lineup tonight? I mean, how do you not have him in the lineup? How's that possible? I'm almost he's at Lehigh, right? He's not at Reading because he had a gold uniform on last night. That's Lehigh. Yeah, he's not in the lineup tonight.
He's at Lehigh. He's on the register on the roster here. So
yeah,
I guess
this just came across my
your feed.
5 teams are interested in Tobias Harris.
Who are they? Are the Detroit Pistons one of them?
Detroit, San Antonio, Dallas, New Orleans, and Utah are 5 teams interested in Tobias Harris.
That's hilarious.
I always think about that. What's the going rate for Tobias? Like, you just had a max deal. What do you now accept as your next deal after the max deal? When you completely flop while you're on the max deal.
Right,
because he's not an old guy, Tobias.
No, but he's not. He played nothing close to the deal he was given. He played like a guy who makes $5 million a year, not $35 million a year.
Yeah. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We should start asking the listeners if they would like to put in candidates for Big Three. Like they could send stories,
like
to the text, nominations throughout the day to see what the big threes are. Because you were talking about the story, I thought this for sure was going to make it. Didn't make it. The whole McGregor thing.
Well, we can talk about that. Yeah.
So McGregor has the broken toe.
Right.
So you were saying that other UFC fighters were giving him the business.
Right. So what happened was, for those who didn't see it, so McGregor, the fight with him and Chandler has been postponed. He had an injury. Now, the injury was initially not disclosed. But guys like Dustin Poirier, Rafael Dos Anjos, and others, they were saying that, hey, Conor's being a baby, you gotta take some ibuprofen. So Conor, apparently, I saw the picture, he came out with a picture showing his broken toe.
Mm-hmm. And he has the x-ray.
To which you told me that Dr. Chow chimed in, came over to Top Rope, and diagnosed this, that this is a legitimate injury.
He said about 6-week recovery time.
So basically, Dr. Chow came out and told all the UFC fighters to take a long walk on a short pier.
Yeah, well, McGregor told Chael Sonnen to basically, he said, you have no room to talk. You tap out every time anyway.
Right, which is harsh because, I mean, when you get into that hold that Chael Sonnen was against Anderson Silva, anybody's tapping out. But
well, the toe, the broken toe.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's the pinky toe on McGregor's foot. And people who are smarter than me have said that apparently that is one of the primary balancers for the foot.
Sure, absolutely.
And so
we all know that.
If you break that toe, that you basically can't really stand on your foot. So I just like Dr. Chow, as you told me, with his description, coming in on the top rope and just being like, hey, you guys need to chill out. Conor's got a legitimate injury.
So no McGregor. Is he they're gonna redo this?
So the last thing that I saw.
When is that 303?
Next weekend. Yeah, definitely not making it for that. I think the UFC would like to get him back in before the end of the summer, but I don't know if he's going to be completely healed by then. There's some talk that he can maybe fight Chandler in November now. To which apparently McGregor, people are accusing McGregor of keeping Chandler from fighting, to which McGregor tweeted out and said that Chandler's going to make 10 times more money fighting me than anybody else. Which is probably true.
All right, that's today's Big Three on the Sports Bash. They're brought to you by Progressive Fence and Rail, the region's largest selection of glass rail, cable rail, aluminum, composite, vinyl T railing with delivery to your home or job site on time, on budget. We'll let the pros at Progressive install it for you. They'll help plan your project and get you what you need when you need it. Visit ProgressiveFenceandRail.com or one of their 4 locations. We'll wrap up the show coming up next.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, getting ready to get out of here. Happy Hour Friday, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. I told you earlier, a little Happy Hour Friday pick for you. I had the 608 last night from Hidden Sands. Now, I don't usually get the 608 there, Josh. I usually, I think they have the 107, is it?
So what led you to get the 608?
It was what was on I wasn't at Hidden Sands.
Okay. So where you
One
were?
of the restaurants, one of the beers on draft they had was Hidden Sands 608.
Well, that's a little, headline as well. You went draft.
Well, if I'm at a brewery, I don't really have much of a choice.
Right.
Most breweries don't sell the cans in the brewery. You have to buy them to go.
True.
Yeah. So if I'm at the brewery, I'm drinking draft. I drink a can in my house.
So you were actually at the brewery?
No, I was at a restaurant last night.
Okay, but
the restaurant had
on draft.
Yes.
Gotcha.
They didn't have another IPA offering.
Gotcha.
Well, they did, but that's the one I went with. They were all on draft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I went with that.
What'd you think?
I enjoyed it. First time I think I had the 608.
What'd you rate it?
I didn't rate it. I didn't put it in my phone. And you know what? I'm glad you reminded me because now I got to do that.
You got to do that.
Yeah. But
people can find one Untapped, right?
You can find me on Untapped. Yep, at MGWV. Is it WVUMG or MGWVU?
You're really asking me what your username is?
I'll look it up real fast.
Yeah, pull it up for the people. People want to get the Mike Gill recommendations. They want to know what Mike Gill likes.
MG973.
There it is.
Follow me on Untapped. Yeah, the 608 was the pick last night. In fact, I'm on my way to pick up some stuff for tomorrow's party.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. Now, by the way, 608 is a double IPA. I have rated it twice.
Oh. You have?
So I have had it before. I don't remember. When was the last time I had it? My last check-in on that beer was... January 2024, right around my birthday.
Must have been a good night.
Yeah, it's probably an afternoon. I remember I've only been in the brewery like twice.
Got it.
All right. Well, 608 DIPA Hidden Sand. My happy hour Friday pick for the day. All right, I'm out of here. It's been a long day, man. See you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm Mike Gill, and this has been the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.